Crossover. Oh, killer crossover. Just crossover. It just crossed him over nastily.
Another victim to the crossovers. Cross him up and sit him down.
Crossover powered by Everlevel Concrete Repair in Omaha at everlevelconcrete.com. You're going to hear all of us together at noon as we have our big Red Out Week lunch going on at Oscars. That's where the boys are right now. The Connor Happer Show. Connor and Josh out there. What it do, boys?
Indeed, Nick. We are very, very, very excited to be here. I am excited for after the show when I get to eat chicken wings.
Yeah.
I haven't looked at a menu yet because I am afraid that I'll get too hungry.
Way too early.
But I am very excited for that. And all the great Husker football talk.
So you're not confident in your ability to eat during commercial breaks and then be able to have a clean palate for hot takes?
It's just uncomfortable for me.
Okay.
I just don't like my fingers having like if I'm eating chicken wings during I could probably smash like 5 to 6 chicken wings during a commercial break, but it would also require like a trip to the bathroom to wash my fingers. Yeah. It's just uncomfortable. So I like to, we like to keep the business and pleasure separate, I guess. That's what we're going to do today.
Okay. Did you bring the blenders, by the way, too, in honor of the kickoff, the season opener for Prime?
Oh,
no blenders?
Great call.
Yeah.
Let me go to my car and grab those during one of these breaks. I will, I haven't thrown, you know what I could have done today, too? I could have worn a big cowboy hat.
You could have.
And I didn't do that.
Yep.
Dang it.
That cowboy hat that you wore last year when we didn't you and I do the post game? Was it the Colorado Nebraska game? I don't know. We did one where you had.
So that was a purple. That was a purple cowboy hat. I was gifted a real life cowboy hat this offseason. It's not felt. It's kind of strawish, I guess. And I have the blender, so I really could have done the full Coach Prime thing today. Sad. I should have done that.
Well, because I think we need to start this thing off when we all get together at noon and start it off like Dion did after the TCU victory last year and said, do you believe? Do we believe in Nebraska this year?
Do you believe? That's what Matt Rule needs to be asking people when Nebraska beats UTEP on Saturday. Do you believe yet?
Do you believe now? Hey, Sam.
Do you believe yet?
Hey, Mitch, do you believe?
It's a great question. I hope that Matt Rule asks people if he believes after they beat Colorado in a couple weeks. But I guess we'll get to that. We should do a whole nother roundtable just for the Colorado game. I guess we do. we do have a pregame show that day, live from the Blur in Lincoln. From the Blur in Lincoln. So that should be fun. But yeah, we got plenty of time to talk about Colorado. I imagine a lot of our season-long conversations today will begin to talk about how important that game is. But we're focused one game at a time, Nick. One game at a time.
Are you guys buying into some of the UTEP trash talking from their fans of Dylan's?
They're calling him fat.
Yeah, Dylan's tummy.
That is the easy. That seems to be the low-hanging fruit for Dylan nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say steer into it. He is a little chubster. He is. He's got a tummy. That's all right. He's a big kid.
He is a big boy.
What's wrong with that?
There's nothing wrong with it.
People love the Costco guys on TikTok, and that little kid, is kind of a chubster too. Big Justice.
I just love how you're using. I like how you're using chubster.
Boom, 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 boom. Yeah, they're so people like those guys. What's wrong?
Rizzler.
The Rizzler, exactly. He's doing the thing with the, he's doing that whole thing. So I don't know. I don't get what's wrong with that. If Dylan looks a little bit like that, no problem to me.
I just feel like they're poking the bear when it comes to that. If that,
all right. Let us trash talk back then. We talked about this plenty extensively yesterday on the show. El Paso, garbage town.
Oh yeah,
absolute garbage.
I've never even been. Never been, and I've heard bad things.
No, I've never been either.
Yeah,
but
looks terrible. Looks really hot too.
No, not a place where I want to be from every, we got a couple texts yesterday. It's like, yeah, I've been to El Paso a couple times. Not where you want to be. It is truly in the middle of nowhere. It's amazing that it's in Texas still with all of the, normal Texas things that we come to realize, but it's really in Arizona or New Mexico. It's part of the American Southwest, which is very different.
Don't they call it Hell Paso?
Hell Paso.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I thought I've heard that before.
Now that could have a cool
El Paso.
connotation.
Mhm.
Like if I was making a UTEP hype video, I'd be like,
Welcome to El Paso.
Yeah, it runs through El Paso.
Check out time never.
Yeah, that'd be kind of cool.
Check-in is now. Checkout is never.
Yep. If they were good at football, that's what you do, right?
Absolutely,
Right.
100%. Welcome to El Paso.
You got to drum up El Paso.
Your worst nightmare. Aaron writes in
Hi, Aaron.
on the text line.
What's up, Aaron?
5 to 6 chicken wings during break. Nick Grimm and 1 bite of hot dog during the break is jealous. I don't know. Like, what do we average about? Like 3 to 4 minutes on a break.
Yeah.
I get
at least 3 down.
I go a wing a minute.
Yeah.
I think that's
well. Now
reasonable.
I feel you're a bone and wing guy, especially at a place like
100%.
Oscars, because you're going to get the char buff.
Yeah, he's an adult.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, because if there's no bone in them, they're not actually a chicken wing, in my opinion.
No, I mean, if they were chicken nuggets, I could rip like 30 of them.
Yeah,
but we've already done that challenge.
I heard that.
Eat a bunch of chicken nuggets.
Did you do the 20? You did the 20-piecer?
Yeah, I tried to eat the world record for chicken nuggets eaten in like 5 minutes it seemed low to me.
Yeah.
And so I took that on as a challenge.
What was it? What was the record?
Failed miserably. It was
was
like
afraid
10.
you'd do that.
It seemed low. Like it seemed gettable. I was wrong, obviously, but it seemed gettable at the time.
I know I can polish off a 20-piece. I've done that many a times after the bars when I was younger, and I never had a clock on me, but it was very attainable. It's very easy to do, but in a 5-minute span, I'm curious how many I could polish off.
Yeah, it turns into more of a management thing. Like it turns into the saltine challenge, basically. You just have to somehow find a way to be able to swallow all of the mush that you've created in your. It's not really about how many chicken nuggets you could eat. It's just about managing where the chicken nuggets go.
Yeah, okay. They start getting backed up a little bit.
100%.
You got to clear the pathway down there. I get
100%.
it. Okay.
This isn't what inspired us, but Joey Chestnut ate 44 chicken fingers in 5 minutes.
Oh my
chicken
gosh.
Fingies?
Yeah.
Wow.
Tendies.
Yeah.
It seems like
Some
I
tendies.
do not want to challenge Joey Chestnut to eat anything. So he could probably
talk about
win that.
poking the bear.
Yeah,
hey, when does that little Netflix thing come out, by the way? He and did it
Labor
already
Day.
come out? It did. That's right. It's Labor Day with him and
Labor Day
and Kobayashi.
Labor Day
Him
special.
and Kobayashi hot dog eating contest.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Man, what
So did America.
Streaming live on Netflix.
is there some sweet odds that Kobayashi, there's some value with that? Because he cannot even be close to being
Kobayashi is old, right? He's washed.
Yeah, and remember, he's not hungry anymore.
That's right. And he does some random eating competitions every now and then, but he's not consistently training like Jaws is.
He's washed.
Chestnut minus 700.
Yeah.
Kobayashi plus 400.
Man, just put a little bit down on
Not
Kobayashi,
a
though.
tight money line split.
No, that's not enough though. Like if I'm betting on Kobayashi, I want quadruple digits.
Uh-huh.
I want at
You want to
least
retire? You want
1,000.
retire early type money.
100%. I want
Okay.
like Rockies versus Royals in the World Series odds that Nick Grimm bet before the season, and he might be half right
Half
at
right.
the end of the day.
Hey, I heard, by the way, he was at baseball again last night. When did Johnny Baseball become? When did Nick Grimm become Johnny Baseball?
He loves baseball.
That's great.
He did show up
last
at the
season.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
2 years ago.
Yeah, he at some point along the way he decided that he liked the Rockies, and
Love
then it kind of went on from there. Now he listens to baseball podcasts, things of that nature,
Uh-huh.
and he showed up at the Storm Chasers game
Yeah.
last night, and took in the sights and the sounds.
That's what I
It's
heard.
lovely.
That's great. See, this is what Rob Manfred was envisioning with Major League Baseball continuing to evolve, is being able to pull in guys like Nick Grimm into the product.
Grow the game.
Yeah,
Grow
and that's
the
what Nick
game.
is doing. Nick is part of the growth.
Did you guys give out a Bison Buffs pick for tonight?
Yeah, I would. Now, I do think, as great as it would be to have both teams 1-0, Nebraska taking care of biz against UTEP and Colorado tonight, I still think there are going to be a lot of Nebraska fans that are going to have a tough time rooting for Colorado.
100%.
And so
if this thing is at all, if I at all sense that North Dakota State has a chance to win it, I'm all Bison. All Bison.
Are you in the same boat as I am, that you're watching for the fact that it would be funny, and then Dion having to talk to the media after a loss to an FCS team at home would be quite comical?
Yeah, I just wonder who he'd blame.
Yeah,
you know?
right.
He'd probably blame Rick George. It's like, why'd you do that to me?
He might blame Sean Keeler.
Non-believers are a scourge on our society.
Right.
Do you think the Bison will cover?
So what is it, 10 right now? I saw 9.5.
I'm looking at the
9.5.
Sportsbook.
No, I think Colorado covers. Yeah. I yesterday gave a score prediction. I think I had Colorado winning 38-14, but I think Colorado pulls away at the end, so it's somewhat sporty in the first half.
The other one tonight is the Gophers.
Yeah.
That's my 2 TVs tonight.
Are you taking the Gophs? Gophs are a slight dog.
I'm glad I can peacefully watch the annual Minnesota Thursday opener
Right,
now.
right.
With no.
Hey, Minnesota's had some moments. Remember the 2019 season when they won 11 games? They damn near lost to South Dakota State.
100%. Yeah, they damn near lost like each of their first 4 games that year.
Well, yeah.
I got the heels.
You got the heels? Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know about Minnesota this year. I'm very intrigued by how they look and what the future holds here for one PJ Fleck and the new Big Ten at Minnesota.
Me too. And it all starts tonight. Nick,
does.
we'll see you in less than 2 hours.
Sounds good, boys.
That's Nick Hanley. That's the crossover. It's powered by Every Level Concrete Repair in Omaha at everlevelconcrete.com. We are here at Oscars at 173rd and Center. You know where it is. You come here to get your chicken wings and your pizza all the time. The Roundtable is at noon today. It's the conclusion of Red Out Week, brought to you by Union Bank and Trust. Also, there's some added benefit to you if you drop by Oscars, not just the incredible takes by us. Also, 11 to 3, we got burgers and fries, $8. Make you holla.
Hello.
That will make me holla indeed. And toward the end, 5 p.m. to close, we're going $2 tacos, $3 margaritas. We're getting locked in for game week. All right, the lunch is at noon. Coming up, let's chat with Martie Cordaro, the Chasers. You only have a few opportunities left to see the Omaha Storm Chasers, including a nice little playoff series coming up in a couple of weeks. We'll catch up with President C coming up on the Connor Happer Show on 1620 The Zone. Connor Happer Show here on 1620 The Zone and on 1620thezone.com. Connor Happer and Josh Hodson here at Oscars for #lunch, baby, and the Roundtable, which is coming up here in just a little while. We'll preview extensively Nebraska's football season. There's other stuff going on as well. And for the president of other stuff, Martie Cordaro joins us now on the 42 Degrees of Source hotline. Hi, Martie. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Connor.
So other stuff. The Storm Chasers are still good, by the way, still good. And they have the rest of this homestand and then one more homestand before it's playoff time. In talking to people, Martie, around the ballpark over the last couple of weeks, it's been great. People do seem excited to watch some playoff baseball in a couple of weeks.
2014, it's an opportunity to support, the home pro AAA team, and we're excited. 24th and 25th of September, and it will be here before we know it. But first, we're at 78 victories, and the franchise record is 86. So it'd be great to break that this year, as good as the squad's been from the beginning to end.
No doubt about it. I mean, and I imagine it doesn't hurt. I myself am a Royals fan. I don't know if you've been able to tell, but I imagine it doesn't hurt when the big club is competing, and they're pretty good too, and that seems to have infiltrated the rest of the organization.
Well, it has, and I think Mike Jerschley's done a job that is probably underappreciated. For the first half of the season, the Royals were kind of rolling along. Obviously, you have your normal ups and downs related to transactions, AAA big leagues, but there weren't a lot of injuries. In the last 3 or 4 weeks, the Royals have had, a number of injuries compared to earlier in the year. And our squad remains competitive. We're still winning games. This is a team that could have cruised in the second half knowing that they already had the playoffs wrapped up, but we've been anywhere from, 2 to 5, 2 to 7 games out of first place, which means they've really been competing in the second half of the season.
No doubt about it. Martie Cordaro, the president of the Omaha Storm Chasers and Union Omaha, with us. It's the Chasers in St. Paul tonight at 6:35 and the rest of the weekend. What do we got going on out at the ballpark this weekend, and then the next homestand, which would be the final regular season homestand of the series or the season?
Yeah. Well, tonight, 6:35, as you mentioned, $3 beers as part of Thrifty Thursday, and that doesn't suck. And
no, not at all.
And hot dogs and other snacks as well, and $3 tickets. And then tomorrow we're going to be honoring a lot of those individuals from OPPD and other companies that really have helped, over the last 4 to 5 weeks after the storm. So, Lions Person Appreciation Night tomorrow night, and one of our final Friday fireworks. And then one of my favorites every year is Military Appreciation, presented by Cobalt this Saturday. So if you're a military member or a veteran, there's an opportunity to go to vettix.com and get free tickets. Is provided by a number of our sponsors and partners. So vettix.com, and that's a 6:05 first pitch on Saturday night. So a lot happening, and we're excited. One thing I do have to say, I've been to El Paso multiple times, and it is some of the best food that I've had anywhere. And the city about 12 years ago really focused on cleaning up and revitalizing downtown. El Paso is actually an underrated city to visit. Some of the nicest people I've ever met, and some of the best food. So I have to throw that in there. I'm not suggesting that has anything to do with UTEP. I'm just talking about El Paso city.
Yeah, I got to admit that I say all this without ever having been remotely close to El Paso in my life. So
go see the Chihuahuas.
Yeah, there you go. We could go catch some minor league baseball as well. But we're just going with the wind a little bit. What kind of food are we talking about? Obviously, some good Mexican food.
It is, yeah, it is, and I've had great Italian there as well. So yeah, it's an underrated spot.
Interesting. Martie, I have to say one thing before we let you go. I have a bucket list before the end of the season, before the end of the Chaser season. I have now seen enough people walk around with the ballpark with that melted brisket sandwich that it's forced me to. So I have to get that at least once before the season ends. And by the way, the show will be out there on the Tuesday of the last homestand as well. So I'm just sensing an opportunity.
Oh.
So are you wanting it in a helmet bucket? Or are you wanting it in a traditional boat? Or do you just want it on a plate so it's the messiest that it can be? Which version? Because I heard earlier that you love eating while you're on the air. So I want to help out there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we can make it a bit and just make it as messy as we could possibly. You can give me a bib, you do the whole thing. But now I've heard this enough now that it seems like something I have to do before the season ends.
I would agree. I'm going to be out of town for business that day, but I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to take care of you.
Marty, good to chat as always. We're looking forward to the final stretch here and some playoff baseball. Thanks for doing it.
Yeah, appreciate it. And for those that don't know, minor league baseball playoffs don't normally draw a big crowd. So if you're out there listening and you haven't seen this club this year, consider coming out on Tuesday the 24th or Wednesday the 25th. The team would appreciate that support, as would the organization. So OmahaStormChasers.com or follow us on Twitter. Appreciate it, guys. Have a great roundtable today. Go Huskers.
Thanks, Marty. See ya. That is Martie Cordaro, the president of the Omaha Storm Chasers. Okay, so the rest of the week against St. Paul, 6:35, 6:35, 6:05, and then a 5:05, I believe. Or I'm sorry, we're back to a 2:05 on Sunday. Then a week off, and then Toledo back at home, and then you got 3 playoff games. Yeah, well, let's get that place loaded. I think it would be a nice little, I don't know, an appetizer, I guess, if you will. If you're a Royals fan, you want to come out, you watch the AAA team, get them in playoff atmosphere in September 24th and September 25th, and then the next week the Royals start their run to winning the World Series, of course, which would be great. So I think it'd be a nice little appetizer. It'd be like the onion rings to our chicken wings today.
Now it's a baseball stadium, so they'd probably be beer battered.
I don't know what their onion rings are like over there.
Baseball.
Probably beer. Yeah, beer, baseball, the whole thing.
No,
sure.
Probably at Werner Park, they're probably just traditional fried.
But here's the reason, man. Like I saw so Nick Grimm was at the baseball game last night.
Bark in the park.
He was barking, indeed. And he comes up to me and he's got the brisket sandwich. And I go, I've seen so many people get this brisket sandwich. And he's like, yeah, it's really good. And so now I have to do it. I'm out there, I don't know, 40 times a year, and I still haven't got this brisket sandwich yet. I don't get a chance to get the concessions unless it's on the days that we're doing the show out there. So I'm just wanted to put a bug in Marty's ear, like, hey,
we need that brisket
I'd
sandwich.
be interested.
Uh-huh.
I'd be interested.
Who's going to fill time with me that day?
That's a great question. We should
I'll have to book some guests.
We would get Stormy.
Ooh.
Stormy'd love to chat.
My child's favorite mascot.
Many child's favorite mascot.
Yeah.
Indeed. All right. By the way, a couple emails here from John on the Equitable Bank inbox.
Hi, John.
He said, I always enjoy listening to Marty when he comes on the show. It's very nice to know he isn't one of the many moron Omaha drivers who refuse to use their turn signal. I love when we're talking to a guest and we can hear their blinkers going off. It's a staple of a Steve Sipple interview, and now Martie Cordaro brings it to the table as well. We also have John on the Equitable Bank inbox throwing more shade at El Paso, the city. Just look at a satellite image of El Paso on your Maps app. The only green around is the field turf at the Sun Bowl. It is a hellscape.
Okay.
No green grass out at El Paso. I didn't expect it. Like I said, it's the American Southwest. All right, we're here at Oscars. Drop by, get some wings. It's not just wings here at Oscars, although I like to highlight the wings because they are indeed char-buffed and delicious. Plenty of flavors there, but also we got pizza. We got your bar favorites, burgers, things like that. And from 11 to 3 today, so during the duration of our show starting in a half hour and into an hour of unsportsmanlike conduct, burger fry basket, $8.
I've got $8.
$8. It's hard to get anything for $8 anymore.
That's right.
$8. And then 5 p.m. to close, $2 tacos, $3 margaritas. Enjoy their beautiful television wall. Man, I would love to watch the games in here tomorrow or on Saturday.
This is an elite setup.
It really, truly is. I wonder how they'll do it tonight. Maybe they go half Colorado and half Minnesota. I don't know. There's options. You got options.
You got Coastal and Jacksonville State.
People keep saying that.
You got the high school
Who
game.
cares about Coastal and Jacksonville State?
Oh, they could be flirting with the playoff at the end of the season.
Watch the games that matter to you. I guess you do have Kansas. I mean, Kansas and Lindenwood tonight.
Yeah, they've got ESPN Plus here. They'll throw it up there.
Yeah, so you could do that. And then we got a full slate of actual good games on Saturday. All right, we are off and running. Thanks to Martie Cordaro for joining the show. Jacob Padilla will join us at 11 o'clock, and Michael Bruntz will be in the 1 o'clock hour today. And, of course, our preseason roundtable. That is our lineup powered by the referees at John Higgins Weather Guard. Would love to hear from you guys, 402-951-1620 on the 42 Degrees The Source hotline. You can call or text that number. Email Connor, Josh O, at 1620thezone.com. On the Equitable Bank Zone inbox, we still have all that stuff up. And you can tweet at Happer Show, at Connor Happer on the JTech Construction Zone Twitter feed. We also say good morning to our YouTube streaming audience. Hello, everybody. How we doing today? Leave a comment on the YouTube. Get it popping in there. We love when that happens. And you can watch us live on zonetv.live. TC wonders, do they have Keno? They have.
Yeah, there's
because I've definitely played it at Roundtable Day
It's
before.
on all the tables.
Okay. All right. Yes, TC. Yes. So get your get your numbers straight. Get your numbers straight and get over here.
You playing bingo? You playing blackout?
You playing hog wild?
Four corners?
You playing winner take all? Like, what do we got cooking today? Let me know, and I'll throw in some numbers for you. All right, off and running on a Thursday from Oscars. We'll be back after this on 1620 The Zone. Predictions to make in so little time. Here we go. Just a few hours away from the football season beginning. The birthplace of college football will host a game maybe of note tonight, and that would be Rutgers and Howard.
And what time does that game start, Connor?
That game will start at 5 p.m. That game will start during the next show.
Totally normal.
Rutgers is a 38-point favorite, and the total is 49.5.
Okay.
So they're thinking a medium amount of points to a very, very small amount of points. Not that far off of Nebraska and UTEP, which we'll, of course, predict against the spread tomorrow. But I think today is going to be record day. I came to a conclusion last night. I really poured over the schedule one more time. I tried to look at it with as clear of eyes as I could possibly get. And you guys know I've been a 7-5 guy for a little while now, certainly since I've come back from paternity leave, where I, was able to be away from it, I guess, for a little while. And I looked at I looked through the schedule really hard one more time last night. And I'll tell you this, my prediction has changed. I'm not at 7-5 anymore. And it's not because this whole random wave of Kool-Aid has hit me at the last second here. That's not the reason why.
Oh no, are you a 6-6 boy?
I am not a 6-6 boy. So
gosh, 5-7.
We're eliminating really one of the things that it could be.
Sorry, I'm killing your teases here.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'm at 8. I think Nebraska goes 8-4 now. And now I've started to, I've listened to other shows, and I've listened to podcasts, and I've read the paper, and I've read the internet, and everyone pretty much to a man is like, you know what? I think 8-4. I think 8-4. And so I figured it's time for me to join that club, which has everyone else in the world in it. Everyone else in the world in it. I am now an 8-4 boy.
Now what?
Why, you're asking?
Yes. What spurned you to this sudden change?
So Mitch and I were going through our sort of prediction show on our Locked On podcast, and
wherever you get your podcasts,
and it's in a lot of different places, that's for sure. And so I was looking at the schedule one more time, and like I said, this is not about Nebraska. This is not me getting one giant waft of Kool-Aid here before the season begins. I feel like I have a good sense of what this team is going to be like, and a good sense of how they're going to have to win games. Like we've explained that all off season long. But what changed was in recent days and weeks, I have felt less of a Nebraska opponent. One Nebraska opponent.
Oh,
I feel less about, and that'd be the Wisconsin Badgers. I don't like the vibes there. I don't know what's going on. It's going to be late in the season. It's highly possible that thing takes off like we expect Nebraska to take off.
No
this
buzz
year.
up there.
But no, not really.
Nothing.
Not really any buzz. And so the question was asked, okay, how many one-score games? We talked about this earlier in the week. How many one-score games is Nebraska going to play in? And the number 5 came to my head. I goes, well, Nebraska's probably going to win a couple of those. And then I thought, you know what? I think Nebraska's going to beat Wisconsin not by more than one score.
Oh.
So they're not included in this conversation. Many people are just penciling them in. So my one-score games are going to be 2 roadies against Purdue and Indiana, wins, by the way, and then losses against my Rutgers, USC, and Iowa to finish the season. That's right. I think Nebraska will go into the final game of the regular season with an 8-3 record and oh my God. Oh God.
It's not your birthday anymore, Josh.
Oh God.
We can talk that talk.
And a turn the 360 cam on, and then a reasonable chance to get to their 9th win by the end of the year before losing by 1 score to Iowa. Okay, so Josh is going to put it. Now, you might not be able to see what's going on here at Oscars, but I wish you. Yeah, why don't you come on up here, Mr. Prime? So this is. I have to go get my hat and my glasses out of my car. You look great, by the way. So Josh is one of our salespeople, and he has fancied himself for some reason as a Colorado fan, and he waited 15 months to get those Coach Prime sunglasses on back order. Yeah, go ahead, pull up the microphone. Yeah. Joey, we got him on. All right. Might have been what?
Might have been 16 months,
16
maybe. Yeah. It was worth the wait. It's worth the wait.
Because I tried to get those gold sunglasses last year out of for a joke, but they wouldn't let me get the ones that said Prime on it. So
for a joke, what's funny about them?
They're funny-looking sunglasses, and you're a funny-looking guy right now.
Absolutely.
You have a Travis Hunter jersey on.
I do. Absolutely.
Where do you find? Did you customize that yourself?
You know that they sell these in Omaha now at Shields. So.
Do they actually?
Absolutely.
That's an embarrassment.
What a traitorous company, unless they sponsor something here on the station, in which case I love them.
Hey, America's team.
Colorado's America's team? In what America is this? Not my America.
United States of America.
I don't know. This is bad, Josh. This is very bad.
For that and other reasons, I'm moving to Canada.
Many people are interested in fighting you on the YouTube right now.
Oh,
so.
boy.
Yep. So
they don't believe.
They do not believe. They do not believe.
We're here.
So you'll just, you'll be sitting here at Oscars calmly eating your chicken wings over the next, few hours, and then all of a sudden somebody will just jack you.
Yeah, I might need like a safe room.
Yeah, you need protection.
Yeah, get the guy a bubble. Well, Josh, good luck. I wish you good luck with all that.
Hey,
it'll start next week. It's already started.
Well, hey, today, baby.
It starts today.
The better Buffalo will get the Bison tonight. So,
okay, by how much?
By more than 10.5.
Okay, you feel good about that?
I do.
All right, he feels good.
But look at me. I might be biased.
But look at me.
That's a great qualifier, Josh. Thank you for all you do. By the way,
Thank you.
This is great. And we need a heel. America needs a heel.
Yep.
Coach Prime's there for you, and we need a heel in Omaha, and Josh Land is there for you. So that's great. Thank you, Josh. It's appreciated. Let's go to the comment section. Let's see what's going on in the comments.
Sure, it's not a tire fire.
Hokey Skur 19 says Colorado is Saudi Arabia's team.
These are facts.
Could have been, had an opportunity to be, and then they didn't let him. They didn't let him do that. Tiger Shark Diver. Who's this guy? Does he want to fight? Carson, did his parents drop him on his head as a baby?
TBD. We don't know.
Kenneth, grown man wearing kid's jersey is like the third worst part about this guy's shtick.
Brutal.
He also says NDSU money line free money. Love that.
Oh, wow.
That's great.
It's not your big brother's NDSU.
No, it's not.
Now, if it was SDSU.
But they can slow it down. They can slow it down a little bit.
They can lean on him for sure.
So we'll see. I ultimately, I do think Colorado probably is a little too fast.
Mm-hmm.
A little too good on the edges to be able to do that tonight. But, yeah. All right, anyway, 8-4. Thoughts? 8-4.
8-4. I like your reasoning. It has been just radio silent on Wisconsin this offseason. You think they'd start to okay, Luke Fickell's getting his guys in there. This is, one of the premier coaching hires of the cycle.
The members of their media don't even want to go on Nebraska radio shows.
They don't. It is nearly impossible to book one. Who even covers the team? I don't know.
Unclear. Are they retired?
Are they retired?
Or do they exist anymore?
Do they return emails and texts and phone calls?
It's all very confusing.
It's hit and miss. You'd be surprised.
So I don't know. I'm kind of out on the Badgers right now.
That makes sense. I
do think Nebraska gets or maybe this is a better way to do it. And I shouldn't say probably because I've certainly made this prediction before. Nebraska's getting one of Wisconsin or Iowa this year. And not that it's this huge thing, monkey to get off your back if you beat Iowa because they beat them 2 years ago. but that one almost didn't even feel real.
Mm-hmm.
It was the last game in a lost season. And they just threw it around the yard and they beat them that way. Maybe there's a key and there's a lesson in there. But I do think Nebraska is able to, take that old Big Ten West. Let's say, so they have what? Purdue, Illinois, Wisconsin, and Iowa this year, former Big Ten West foes. I think they get 3 of those.
So, spoiler alert, I read the prep sheet today.
I
agree with what you put on there that I feel like we have a pretty good idea what this team is, what they are capable of, and what they will do. I just keep coming back to I've been burned before.
So that is and I'd like to actually take a second and discuss that. So
because it's not a real thing.
I want your guys' thoughts on that at 402-951-1620. Every time, and here's how it goes, and if I'm wrong, let me know. But I've seen a lot of 8-4 predictions. That seems to be the default this year, 8-4. And anytime I've ever seen a person do a 7-5 prediction for this year, they have said exactly what you just said. I just can't do it because my brain won't let me do it.
Yep.
Because they have killed me before, and I'm going to wait until I see it.
Yep.
And I think
that's where I'm sitting right now.
I've made this point a lot this offseason, which is we probably, and we should have done this more. I regret it, actually. We should have done this more this offseason. When we talk about this year's team, we need to stop comparing it to last year because it's different. It does, Severe said this the other night on a clip that I saw floating around from Big Red Wrap Up.
Haven't watched it yet. It's on the DVR.
He said, it feels like a rebirth. It feels like, even though it's a year 2 of a coach, it feels like a rebirth. You have a 5-star quarterback. You're actually going to have an offense worth a damn, theoretically. And your defense is in a good enough position where you feel like they can kind of just hit the ground running. It does feel like a rebirth. It does feel like a new era. It's certainly not going to be as dysfunctional as it was a year ago on offense. And then you just hope that everything around it is helped out by the fact that there's competency on that side of the ball. So, when we say, hey, I think they'll be better than last year, obviously they're going to be better on offense than last year.
We've talked about how lucky they were to finish where they finished last year.
Yeah.
In the midst of all the incompetence.
And then I think you also get into this conversation of like what you just said, hey, they went 5-7 last year without an offense. You're not in the Big Ten West anymore. You're only playing 4 out of those teams from the Big Ten West, 4 instead of the 6 from the Big Ten West. It is a different thing now. It's a different schedule. There's you're getting USC and UCLA.
College football is different this year. I don't know if you've heard.
I feel like we overdo that a little bit, and you're definitely going to hear it a lot on ESPN and wherever you take in college football. But it's applying to what I'm saying right now. I think just wipe the slate clear, and this is an opportunity to get ahead of the game. Where if you're not ready to go this year, then you have a chance. We'll narrow down the formula and what it looks like and how you get into the college football playoff. That'll be more defined next year. That'll be more defined in 2 years, and maybe the playoff is different in 3 or whatever it is. But right here, right now, I would look at this as the best possible opportunity you have to be able to compete for a spot in that, because nobody knows what's going to happen. There are 40 teams out there who could say, yeah, I think we could do that. I think we could win enough games to get us in. Look at our schedule. Look at what we have. Look at, our ability to do this and that. We'll have a better idea of what that is, and maybe it gets pared down next year. This year, I don't know, wide open. It's a great chance to make a first impression in this rebirth of college football.
And it's great for those things inside the building that we don't get to see when coaches are like, oh, you got to flush last year. You got to flush last year. This year isn't last year. It helps that is actually true, that you can actually, first day of school, you can be whoever you want to be this year.
That's a good way to put it.
Mm-hmm.
You could be whoever you'd like to be. I'm still a little curious on who Nebraska wants to be and what they want to do. we're going to figure a lot of that out, of course, on Saturday. So I do think I'm at 8-4, and it doesn't have really anything to do about what they did last year with what they did last year, or anything like, oh, they're going to be so much better than last year. No, it's just I look at this team that I think they have good wide receivers. I think they have a quarterback that'll keep you in games and not turn the ball over, at least to start. And then we don't know his ceiling. I had somebody ask me, hey, have you like thought about, the possibility that they could make the playoff or they could go 10-2? Like, of course. Yeah, of course.
I've allowed myself to dream.
Yeah, of course.
I've dabbled.
We don't know what the ceiling is. We have no idea what the ceiling is. It's all on that guy. It's all on the 5-star quarterback. That's the ceiling that I want to bet on, to be honest with you. So, of course. I think you should be thinking about that possibility a little bit. So I know there's people who are really hesitant. Josh, I think you're included in that with your 7-5.
And again, I understand it's not based on logic or facts or anything.
Just
it's all vibes,
there
as Nick says.
You're just not there yet.
Yeah.
Is that the vibe though? Is 7-5 even the vibe you're getting, or you're just doing it based out of like, I just have it. I can't see it. So
it's not even that I can't see it. Like maybe I roll in here on Tuesday and going, oh my gosh, did you see this team against UTEP? They're never going to lose again.
You're allowed to do that. I think it'll be a pretty tepid start to the season, by the way, on Saturday. We'll discuss that as we go on throughout the rest of today. And then, of course, into tomorrow on our Football Friday. But we're here at Oscars at 172nd and Center. Come on out. There is great sports on the television. There will be a real-life college football game starting at 5 o'clock.
And Nick is going to be ecstatic. There are 2 golf tournaments on these TVs right now.
Yeah. Nick Hanley will show up in his golf attire probably and say, well, I got to go, guys. I have a 12:40 tee time.
He's a real sicko, that Nick.
He does love golf. That guy loves golf.
You listening to this show right now, you didn't even know there were 2 golf tournaments going on right now, did you?
No.
You would if you were at Oscars.
I'm doing this show and I didn't know that. I'm watching the television and I didn't know that. Sometimes I see the golf and it's like it never happened in my eyes. But Justin Thomas is hitting now. So that's cool. I don't know where this is. Is the other one live?
It just says main feed.
Yeah, I don't know. This is great. Yeah, it's on ESPN Plus. You have the opportunity to like do different things. Anyway, the Roundtable is at noon. All of our hosts will be here. Myself will be joined by Gary, Nick, and John and Josh. In the afternoon, we'll get our record predictions, why we think that, and why it's going to end up the way it's going to end up this year. And it all begins Saturday. I keep thinking that it's Friday, but it's not. We're at Oscars. Come out and join us for lunch today. We would love it, and we'll have you throw number 15 on Keno for Dylon.
That's right. That's our number now.
Sounds good to me. Mike writes in on YouTube.
Hi, Mike. 7
wins should be the minimum expectation for this season.
Oh,
yeah. I said before. I think it's a failure if Nebraska isn't ranked at some point this year.
Uh-huh. I would agree with that.
I think they need to be in that conversation at some point. I think they'll be 6-1 going to Ohio State, for the record, and so that should probably get them close, if not inside the top 25. And then it's obviously rougher sledding down the stretch, but 7-5 should be pretty good. 7-5 should be like, all right, that felt okay. We left a lot out there. That sets the tone a little bit for next year. There's still. It wasn't a disaster, but there's like that empty feeling of, man, they left a few out there. Not that dissimilar to what it was in 2023.
Better get us now.
Tiger Shark Diver says, if you don't get char buff wings, put on a skirt.
I don't know if we need to go that far, but yes, I will be getting the char buffed wings.
That's what he said.
Because I'm an adult.
Star Wars Fiend asks if we're buying, he could take an extended lunch. We are not buying, but you could take an extended lunch. You are buying, Star Wars Fiend.
You earned it.
Yeah. Do treat yourself at Oscars. All right, coming back, we'll chat with Jacob Padilla of Herd Sports. We got volleyball, we got basketball, we got football. We get Jacob's record prediction as well. We will come back from Oscars at 172nd and Center. It's the Connor Happer Show on 1620 The Zone. Oh, but a message from my friends from the FanDuel Sportsbook. Thank you, Peter, man. I appreciate that. America's #1 sportsbook is really cooking right now. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm looking at a full page of the odds for week 1 of the NFL, for college football beginning tonight. And FanDuel is trying to make your experience as good as it can possibly be. So, with that being said, let's sweeten the pot for you a little bit. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then with your YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime. Use FanDuel.com/Happer. Download America's #1 sportsbook. Once again, 3 free weeks of NFL Sunday Ticket. That is a heck of a deal for the first 3 weeks of the NFL season. FanDuel.com/Happer. 21 and over, present in Iowa. Let's see here. 21 and over and present in Iowa. Full price of NFL Sunday Ticket will be automatically charged seasonally after free trial. No refunds, terms, restrictions, and embargoes apply. Gambling problem, call 1-800-BETS-OFF.
And now, the only cure for our basketball Jones. Hail Varsity's Jacob Padilla on the Connor Happer Show on 1620 The Zone, baby.
All right, we're joined now on the 42 Degrees Source hotline by our good friend Jacob Padilla of Herd at Sports. Jacob, hello. Are you excited for football?
It's volleyball season, Connor.
I can't believe that energy. I mean, it is volleyball season. You're right. But you have to – I mean, you're excited to watch the Packers go 9-8 this year, aren't you?
Oh, wow. That's hard. No, college football. Cool. It's back. It is. So Saturday is going to be tough for me. I'm going to have to probably just go back and rewatch the game just because of various coverage responsibilities. I'll try to catch – I'll probably try to stream some of it. But because I got to get down to Lincoln for volleyball, and I'm covering some high school volleyball here in Omaha earlier in the day. So, but I am looking forward to it. After all this talk, all this speculation, seeing what this thing looks like this year.
I know.
It is exciting. Just it's a lot of that is kind of the Royal thing, and just really want to see what this offense looks like. It's so different than what we've been used to, and I am excited to see it out there.
Yeah, I think we've done a pretty adequate job around here of like establishing a floor based on what they have, and incorporating last year, I guess, into that conversation a little bit too. But I think one thing that is just almost impossible to declare is what their ceiling is. That's why, in my mind, Jacob, people are kind of getting excited. They're drinking the Kool-Aid as they always are. But when you have a quarterback of that caliber. Or projected of that caliber, you don't want to, you're curious about what he could bring to the table and what it might look like at the end of the day. Do you feel like that's an accurate representation of sort of how you feel going into this thing?
Yeah, and not only just the caliber, like the 5-star nature, the added legacy aspect of it, but just the playing style. Nebraska hasn't had a quarterback like you just kind of look back over the last really impactful quarterbacks. They've all been kind of dual threat guys who maybe struggle to make all the throws. And Tanner Lee's the last pro style type of quarterback. We know how that went. You go back before that, it's probably Joe Gans was the last successful throwing quarterback that Nebraska fans have gotten a cheer for. Kind of all the other guys that stepped up have been athletes. They started as more dual threat guys that have tried to, obviously Taylor Martinez and Tommy Armstrong and Adrian Martinez. All those guys had really successful runs, but there was always you just kind of wish that they could make a few more throws that they just never were able to get to in their career. And coming in, obviously losing the quarterback run aspect completely changes things and how it's going to look. But I think fans, and I know I'm excited just to see even what he showed in the spring game, just the ability to play pitch and catch, to keep the chains moving, to put the ball where it needs to go, to potentially run some screen passes and things like that. Just kind of the throws that we've seen Nebraska quarterbacks struggle to make over the years. Looking forward to seeing if Royola can consistently make those throws and keep Nebraska on schedule and give the team a chance to play really complimentary football for the first time in a while.
100%. Jacob Padilla of Herd at Sports is with us. So I'm glad you mentioned the run pass thing. We'll maybe one more football thing or two here. So people are using Adrian Martinez as this kind of baseline. He threw for just a little over 2,600 yards his freshman year, but he had that run component to his game. I've always thought that, Nebraska will have to, and Raiola in particular, will have to displace a lot of those quarterback run numbers in the pass game this year. So if he does throw for 3,000 yards, which I think is in the realm of possibility. It's a pretty high number. If he throws for 3,000 yards, it'd be a top 5 passing season in Nebraska football history. If he throws for Adrian Martinez's 2,600 in 2018, it'd be a top 8 season in quarterback history for passing yards at Nebraska. So, I feel like people are scared to sort of go out on a limb and say, oh, he's going to throw for 3,000 yards this year and be really, really good because of that history piece of it. But at the same time, when you do the math together, I don't think it's that hard to imagine.
Yeah, and that kind of speaks to what I was just talking to. Is Nebraska hasn't had a lot of prolific passing quarterbacks.
100%.
So you have a good year, it's easy to kind of jump up into on the all-time list. And yeah, I don't know that I'm expecting 3,000 yards. I think where the difference will be, like compared to an Adrian Martinez in terms of just team success, is more than just yardage total, is touchdowns, is third down effectiveness. Like those are the areas where Nebraska really kind of struggled during Martinez's era and when he was playing at his best. And because they racked up yards, but they didn't often enough turn those into points, and they struggled when the field shrunk and throws had to be more precise, and it wasn't as easy to run the ball. Like they've got to be able to actually finish off drives this year, and hopefully that's an area where I think 20 touchdowns. Been a while since Nebraska quarterback hit 20 passing touchdowns. I think that's kind of more of a mark that I'm looking at. Is can you not only just the yardage total, but can you be impactful? Can you put points on the board? Because I think between Nebraska hopefully being able to run the ball and spread the ball around and get a lot of different guys involved. Hopefully they'll be able to move the ball overall. It's just, can they finish off those drives? And hopefully with this new look offense, they'll be able to do that at a more efficient rate.
Passing touchdowns will be a pretty big stat. I think it'll be a pretty indicative stat this year. So I just was thinking of this morning. If Dylan Raiola is to throw for 2 touchdown passes on Saturday, a very modest 2 touchdown passes, he will be 20% of the way to last year's quarterback passing touchdown production rate after his first game, Jacob.
Yes. Yeah, it's like you said, they struggled in that area. Even with Adrian Martinez, that was kind of the one thing. Like, he had an impressive career, and like you liked how it looked, but that was one area where he struggled, is just, again, operating in the red zone. And some of that maybe was the weapons he had. For a stretch there, Nebraska really loaded up on small slot types and basically played those guys at every position. And that doesn't necessarily work out great when the field is shrinks. But that'll be key. You've got obviously some bigger targets now with Sidoni in the red zone. Showed some things last year, obviously, and small banks, Isaiah Nair, bigger wideouts compared to Billy Kemp last year, trying to be your number one at 5'7" or whatever he was. So it's just going to look very different. Will they hit the threshold they need to for the team to really take that step forward? Hopefully, it remains to be seen. But the pieces are very different. So how the team looks this year, it's going to be a completely different style of offenses with all the changes they've made and the influx of talent.
Jacob Padilla of Herd Sports is with us. Jacob covering a little bit of everything, Creighton basketball, Nebraska volleyball, dabbling in football as well. Well-versed on everything. High school football beginning tonight in the metro area. Let's go to volleyball, Jacob. So it was a great night for the sport on Tuesday. And, with a couple, I guess 4 national contenders right there in the same building, good crowds, good TV audience, things like that. Nebraska, did Nebraska look like what you thought they would look like in the first game in a highly anticipated season?
Yeah, it's always tough opening the season with a match like this where you're facing another top 10 team. A lot of the time they're opening at home at some of these non-con or these multi-team tournaments, and so the competition level isn't quite as high. And you got time to play with the lineup and let players kind of work through some rust and build up the chemistry and all that. There wasn't any of that. Like, he had to come ready to play out of the gate in this one. And not only that, they opened the season earlier than normal on a quick turnaround from the red-white. So I wasn't expecting them to come out and look like a well-oiled machine. And they did struggle early on. And the offense wasn't quite at the level that I think they expect to be at as the season goes on. I don't know that Bergen Riley necessarily had her best stuff. I think both setters probably just the decisions they made, location with some of their sets. They're 2 All-American setters, and they weren't quite playing at that level, I don't think. But Nebraska was able to kind of settle in after a rough stretch, figure it out, and do what they needed to get a win. And I think defensively, they're not going to have 18 blocks every match, but you look at this team and they've got all the pieces to be the best defense in the country once again, which they've been the last couple of years. They do have effective blockers up front, like Rebecca Alec. 12 blocks in his first. Like, you look at what she did down the stretch of last year, and the last 6 matches, she hit double-digit blocks in 3 of them. Averaged like 3 blocks a set almost during that stretch. Like, she really turned it up at the tail end of last year, and appears to have carried that into this season, and then was also effective offensively to go with that. Like Jalen Reyes said on the radio afterward, like, man, if this is a trend and not just like a one-off a good match, like that changes some things for Nebraska and for Alec as an individual player. Like, that was a next step for her. She was one of the best blockers in the country last year, and the attack hadn't necessarily taken a step forward. It's kind of stagnant. So great start for her, and I think they'll kind of figure some things out. They've got so many players. We'll have to see. I'm not surprised that Cook went with the returners, considering just the way he had talked about the transfers throughout the preseason and how they're still trying to play catch up. They're still learning everything that they need to in order to play at a high level in Nebraska on Nebraska's team. So, Taylor Lanfer got in briefly. Leo Blackwell didn't play at all. I don't know that that's going to be the case all season long. And I think, honestly, this might be the most competitive roster that I've seen with, like, nobody's going to be able to relax this season, or they're not going to be able to hold on to their job.
They're incredibly deep. I mean, you just meant, I don't know how many you ripped off there, 6 or 7. Need to mention Andy Jackson, who apparently can now jump into outer space, which is a great added benefit to a volleyball team.
Yeah, touching 10-10 is pretty impressive. And the funny thing is, she kind of brushed that off. Like, Lincoln O'Neill asked her about it, and she said, "Oh no, my vertical is about the same as last year." And then on the broadcast, of course, the coaches told ESPN that, she's at 3 inches and now she's touching 10-10, which is kind of ridiculous. And she's one of those. The athleticism is certainly functional. A lot of time you come across athletes where, in the testing environment where everything's under control and they can just go all out and all that, like, they put up some kind of crazy testing numbers. Now you see Andy's vertical in the match. Like, she's such an effortless leaper, and so good on that quick set in the middle there, as well as the slide. And not the tallest middle blocker in the world, little undersized, but 6'3" or so, but she more than makes up for that with how explosive she is. And that really was the difference in the game. The play of the middle blockers up front just kind of set the tone for everybody else on a night when maybe the outsides didn't have it rolling at the level that we expect from them.
Jacob, I want to ask you about high school football. First of all, I'll say this. I kind of miss the fact that high school football doesn't start a week earlier than everything else now. It's we're all kind of starting all at the same time, and then you have the added thing tonight where games are getting moved around and pushed up because of some storms that are going to come in the area. What are you excited for to take in week 1 of high school football around the area?
Yeah, the kind of the week 0 thing is nice where you get a few standalone. Gives you a chance to maybe see an extra game, extra team that that might have been tougher later in the season as the schedule starts to pile up. Yeah, the weather is kind of a bummer. Just moving stuff around. I'm not sure if I'll be able to get out to a game today. Just kind of waiting on volleyball availability and practice. And with them moving, I was hoping to be able to get out of there and head to one after that ended. But we'll see kind of what happens there. Obviously, I think half the Hurrdat sports team is planning to be at Westside North. And it's 2 and 3 in our preseason rankings from the coaches and Mike Sauter's poll. I think obviously everybody wants to see the new look Westside. They got a lot back, but they got a new quarterback, and they're really, really high on this kid, Braylon Warren, and I'm excited to see kind of how he does in his first start. But I mean, there's some good ones throughout the state as well. I know on Friday, Mike Sauter's heading out to see Connor Booth, the Nebraska commit at Bishop Newman against Norfolk Catholic, who is just the power in that class. And that's a really fun way to start the season if we're looking kind of outside the metro and smaller class.
No doubt about it. Jacob Padilla of Hurrdat Sports. Jacob, enjoy the first, well, I don't know if it's the first, but the full weekend. We got football, we got volleyball, we got all kinds of sports going on. Enjoy the last weekend before the NFL, and you get sad as well. So very exciting for you. Thanks, Jacob.
Good to be back. Go Pack, go.
Jacob Padilla of Hurrdat Sports. So also in the Metro and high school football this week, you have the big game tonight between North and West Side, and those are two of the better programs that have been around here for a long time now. You also have this this kind of interesting thing where you have Millard South, who is kind of slated to be the state's best team or second best team. They're going to Chandler, Arizona.
That's right.
To play Basha. And then you have, I believe, Prep going to Kansas City this weekend as well. So there's some schools playing some.
They're playing the Chiefs?
Out-of-state teams. Yeah, they're playing the Chiefs.
Wow.
We'll see how they do. Chiefs are ranked number 1 in the state of Missouri. Pretty impressive by them. Then you got some good out-state games, obviously, as well. So high school football beginning again. Hopefully not too much interruption in terms of weather around town this evening, but it is a staple of late August and September in the state of Nebraska in high school football. It's you're going to have to deal with some things. So that's
you're going to have to deal with the lightning.
It is. You're just going to have to deal with some things. Lee writes in.
Hi, Lee.
On the JTech Construction Zone Twitter feed. He has a question, and we could take a few minutes and discuss this on the way back. Which stat will be more important for a successful Nebraska year? Quarterback passing touchdowns or quarterback interceptions? I think he's asking which stat will be more sort of indicative of how the season goes. Let's poke at that a little bit when we return. We have a few other things that we want to bring to you. Once again, Bruntz is going to join us in the 1 o'clock hour today. He'll be pushed back a little bit. We'll get his predictions. It's the prediction show, basically. And the Roundtable is coming up at noon because we are at Oscars. People are starting to file in for lunch. The burger special is underway, folks. $8 burgers and fries until 3 o'clock.
I can smell the wings.
I know. Yeah. The burger deal is great, but obviously you're kind of insane if you don't get chicken wings. Just saying.
Get both.
That's my personal opinion. Or you can get both. You can grab a beer with it for lunch as well. Drop by Oscars, 172nd and Center. We're out here until 2 on Sportsline Conduct, out here until 6. We'll be back after this on the Connor Happer Show on 1620 The Zone. All right, welcome back. We're on the Connor Happer Show here on 1620 The Zone and on 1620thezone.com. Connor Happer, Josh Otson with you, just a few minutes away from El Roundtable.
Some people have shown up.
They're playing against El Paso, and we're bringing you El Roundtable coming up here in just 30 minutes. We'll take a couple tweets here from Coach Prime first. I got my Coach Prime sunglasses on here from Huskers, by the way, at the request of Buff Josh. So I got my blenders on. What's going on today? I got a couple tweets this morning from Coach Prime.
Okay.
His most recent one 6 minutes ago. 6 minutes. All caps, exclamation point, win.
Oh, good tweet. Good tweet.
I retweeted
I like that.
immediately.
That's a good strategy.
And then this morning, a couple hours ago, he says this. This is profound. You've got to develop an even though attitude. Even though they consistently forget you and never give you credit, God didn't. Even though you were left out, looked over, and ostracized, God chose you. Even though they thought you were done, God saw that you never gave up. God got you, baby. Hashtag Coach Prime.
Even though we lost to North Dakota State, God's got us. Even
That's
though
right. Ostracized for losing to North Dakota State.
The bank and the administrators at University of Colorado wouldn't let us take Saudi PIF funds. God's got us. That's a little awkward. A little conflict of interest there on that one.
Only God can judge, even if you take a bunch of Saudi blood money.
I mean, the kids just say God's plan.
Indeed.
Just tweet God's plan.
We'll just stick with that one. Let's take a phone call. This is God's Plan on the 42 Degrees of Source hotline and say hello to Random Mike. Hello, Mike.
Hey, speaking of God's Plan, Cole Payton plays tonight, I believe. Am I right?
Indeed. North Dakota State, baby.
And I think he is a man of God. And if I'm Colorado, I don't know if I want to face him. He may go do some really impressive things.
I'd say he's a secret weapon, Mike.
Oh.
I agree. And this may be one of my most important calls. And I realize that's kind of like saying you're a real big guppy, in the scheme of things. But when people get real, think about it during the course of a week or a month when you get the most angry, when you're swearing and getting upset, and it happens fairly consistently. What would it be? You don't have to get too personal, but my point is, a lot of times for sports fans, it's when they're watching their favorite team doing stuff that really gets them upset. And the fact is, I've had heart issues in the past, and I've had all kinds of things wrong with me physically, not to mention other things. But heart seems to trump all that. And I'm on a statin, and I'm on walnuts every day, a handful of walnuts. And look it up. Don't rely on me. Walnuts are really good for your heart.
I always heard it was almonds.
A lot of people think almonds are good. Walnuts are the best. And you can check the source you like.
Power rankings.
The source you like, whether it's Mayo Clinic or Harvard or any great medical source. The research, and it's coming out even more. But here's the thing. During sporting events, big sporting events, people have heart attacks. And when they're stressed, and when there's physical stress, they have heart attacks. If they overeat on an unhealthy meal, they have heart attacks. Sudden heart attacks. Walnuts actually can prevent that. So what I'm saying is, and I'm going to do it, because as great as I think this year might be, and it could be awesome, there are going to be moments where we're going, and we'll be swearing, and we're saying, here we go again. Have walnuts nearby. Seriously. And it could be a lifesaver. I'm not saying it will be, but it could be. And the more you look into it, the American Heart Association is practically begging people to eat walnuts every day. Harvard Health, you name it. So my suggestion to all the people out there, and a lot of them have heart issues, especially when you're getting older, but even some younger ones, have walnuts nearby. And
Mike,
it's great for your heart.
Do you work for Big Walnut? What's going on here?
I was going to say, I do not work for them. And I know what happens with a lot of scientific studies is they're sponsored by private companies, among other things, that are interested in. But this is legitimate research. Don't rely on me. Just Google walnut and your heart, walnut and your arteries. It's amazing. Hardening of the arteries, very bad thing. Walnuts actually do the opposite. But what I'm saying is, I think we're going to have at least 8 wins. And here's my thing. if God forbid something happens to Dylan where he's out for, game 2 or 3, and I keep thinking of Jordy Ball and Allison Widener and things that can happen. What I'm saying is who the next guy would be for, a game or 2 or 3. To me, it could be any of the others. You think?
Yeah, I do. It depends a lot on the situation that they're in, the situation of the game that they have to finish, and then how long of a stretch of time.
Right.
Yeah, there's different guys for different situations for sure.
Hey, tell me this: of the newcomers on the team, and I'm talking staff or players, who would be like your top 3 that might have the biggest impact? Now, I'll tell you who I think it is. Again, my knowledge is limited. Of course, the quarterback. But John Butler, do you think that's a huge addition to the team?
Yeah, I think his presence has certainly been felt right away. He feels like a guy, in listening to some of those defensive backs talk, he feels like a guy that has the right demeanor, the right way of coaching at the right time. He's coming and kind of challenged some young guys, and they got a fresh slate. So I think that's an important one. I mean, Banks, I'd throw him up there, obviously.
Right. Maybe the big lineman from Florida.
Maybe Micah Mazuka would be in there. Yeah, he's probably a starter, Mike.
But what could be even bigger, Connor, are the guys coming back that easily did not have to and had a good chance at the NFL. And I'm thinking particularly the 2 guys in the middle of the D-line, but also Gifford.
100%. Ty Robinson, Nash Hutmaker included in that conversation as well. All right, Mike, we're going to throw away our Cheetos. We'll get some walnuts. Thanks for calling in.
Look it up. Take care.
I have looked it up. I have some walnut facts here. 1 serving is a small handful, 1.5 ounces of whole nuts, or 2 tablespoons of nut butter if you prefer.
Yep.
It's going to increase the arterial elasticity by 64%, Connor.
Yeah.
That's a big number.
So one of my former co-hosts had a heart attack. He has actually a multiple heart attack guy. And once he came back.
Poll questioning a multiple heart attack guy?
Well, no.
Okay,
it's a real thing.
Yeah,
multiple heart attack guy. Sometimes you're a multiple heart attack guy. And, I think if you have one, you're probably more likely to have a second.
That's probably.
But after the second one, he got really serious about what he was eating, what he was putting in his body.
Sure.
And he showed up on a daily basis. Well, he had his giant, the pub mix, the big thing of pub mix that you get from Costco.
People love the pub mix.
So it's not pub mix in this jug. It is, and it's not walnuts either. It's almonds. He had almonds. He was huge on almonds.
I love almonds.
He would just constantly snack on almonds.
Mm-hmm.
Almonds, and he said, "This is what my doctor told me. Like, this is something that I needed to do." So maybe there's some sort of rivalry in which is better for the heart. Walnuts or almonds, or walking. As the American Heart Association would say,
walking is good for the heart.
I'd say it's all good, and it's all probably better than Cheetos for your heart. That much is for sure. So if Nebraska's in some sticky situations this fall, you dump out the Cheetos and you grab some random Mike walnuts.
And a water.
That'd be great as well. Brian asks, was Connor's former co-host Homer Simpson? No. Also from the 757 rather.
Hi, 757.
Poll question, does random Mike lobby for big walnuts? That's good.
I like that one.
From John, oh my Lord, random Mike is a national treasure. And he definitely earned his name right there. There's no doubt about that. And then on the other side, Jeff says, definite way to kill a radio show, having random Mike on. You guys have to understand. Now, I let random Mike cook. I do. I really enjoy it. I'm on that side of the aisle. But we don't call random Mike to get random takes. He calls us.
Yeah.
So it's not like we're having him on. He just is on,
He's got one.
We take calls.
He's ruminating. He's on.
Yeah, like he's got something he wants to talk about. He wants to talk about a local athlete. Mm-hmm. He wants to talk about what could happen in the worst case scenario. And he wants to talk about some life advice. That's usually the 3 things that we hit with Random Mike, and I think we checked all those boxes.
Now, I will admit Random Mike's hit rate is not 100%, but, when today, I think he crushed that one out of the park.
Yeah, I thought it was a good call.
And that's
a great preseason call.
That's what we love, yes.
A very good preseason call. Travis writes in on the
Travis.
YouTube. He says, I reject this walnut propaganda. You're going to be sorry one day, at least according to Random Mike. Be careful. That's all we ask. Be careful. That's it. Okay, so we got this question before on Twitter from Lee. That we're going to get to. We'll spend a couple minutes on this. By the way, the odd news is coming up. Then we'll have the roundtable coming up at the top of the hour, featuring everybody. Which stat will be more important for a successful Nebraska season? Quarterback passing touchdowns or quarterback interceptions? And your eyes might immediately be drawn to interceptions. But going back to what I said before, I do think we do a little bit too much comparing to 2023. It's like, yes, Nebraska's not going to turn it over 31 times. They're just not.
Bold prediction.
So let's just start at a baseline level. I don't think it's the worst thing in the world if you turn it over a little bit. They're going to turn it over a little bit. They're not going to turn it over 31 times. So one thing that has been sorely, and I could just go and do the year-by-year stuff right now, Nebraska has been absolutely abysmal in the quarterback passing in the passing touchdowns category. Most, if not, it's not all of them, but man, I would think it's a giant swath of them. Passing touchdowns for Nebraska over the last, since Scott Frost got here, basically 2018, I would say that probably 75% of those touchdown passes have come on plays which were greater than about 25 yards. You were outside of the red zone.
Okay.
Basically big shots, right? Uh-huh. Nebraska becomes unable or untrustworthy to their quarterbacks when they get into the red zone to be able to throw touchdown passes. You look at it this year. They have a quarterback who they feel like could do all of those things, is accurate, and can make the proper reads, and is not so aggressive that he'll throw an interception in the red zone. They have a tight end who they think is pretty good. They have a couple tight ends who they think are pretty good. Nebraska's quarterbacks last year passed for 10 measly touchdowns. We already know that they hit 3 50-yard bombs, so take 3 of them out just immediately. I mean, not take them out, but they still count.
They do count.
Casey Thompson threw for 17 and 22. Odd season, right? Adrian Martinez threw for 14 and 21. Nebraska only played 8 games in 20. Quarterbacks threw for a grand total of 5 touchdowns and 9 interceptions that year. So that was super cool and good. Nebraska quarterbacks in 2019, 10 of them coming from Adrian Martinez and 2 of them coming from Luke McCaffrey, threw for 12 touchdowns in 2019. And in 2018, Adrian threw 17, which was the high water mark over the last couple of years. Bunchy threw for 2. So Nebraska had 19 quarterback touchdown passes that year. Like it or not, and then you go back to Tanner Lee in 2017, and when I'm kind of mapping out this year as far as statistically what it could look like, 2017 got off the rails because they just started kind of airing it out a little bit, and they were down in games, and it got really messy. Tanner Lee threw for 23 touchdown passes that year. Yes, and then the obvious retort is, well, he threw for 16 interceptions and 100 pick sixes, Connor. That wasn't good. That was pretty indicative of their lack of success, that's for sure. He threw for 23 touchdown passes. That was a functional, functional pass game in the red zone. They weren't all 50-yard bombs as well. I think it is one of the key stats for this team this year. How can they operate when they get chances to score, when they get into the red zone? It can't just be – last year they had to kind of junk it up and run the option and hit big gadget touchdown plays. This year I think they should be able to act a little bit more normal in those situations. And that's where it's really easy to get optimistic about Dylan Raiola throwing, 18 to 20 touchdown passes this year. That, and you're not going to have that quarterback run game. You'll have it a little bit more in the red zone. My guess is he'll dive in for a couple touchdowns this year. But, outside of that, he's going to be passing it. And Nebraska will run it, obviously.
20 seems very attainable, right?
Am I
crazy for saying
I think it's
that?
a very normal number, Josh. It's a very normal number.
Okay. I I don't know this, but I think I know this, if that makes any sense. He's not going to turn the ball over much.
Yeah, I don't know. That'll depend on some situational stuff, I think.
Sure.
They'll really push and pull with his aggressiveness. I wouldn't mind it if they were pushing it pretty hard and he did throw a few. Because I just think Nebraska's defense is something that you can
rely on.
You can trust. Like, I don't think that they're going to go into a shell of themselves and just out of the ability to not have Dylan Raiola throw interceptions. They won't do that. I would rather them err on the opposite. I would rather them err on the side of aggression.
He's got the IQ to know what's a window I can try and what's not.
100%. Yeah, he'll keep the ball safe.
Yeah.
But like if he throws a couple by, because they're pushing the pedal a little bit too hard and he has to throw one in the red zone or whatever it is, like, I'm actually okay with that because the numbers at the end of the day will look pretty good. And like I said, I think, Nebraska will trust their defense enough to put them in situation. I mean, it doesn't get much worse. You prepared this defense. Part of the, I guess you could look at it as a bright side. I'm not trying to spin zone Nebraska being so awful on offense last year, but they turned the ball over. They turned the ball over 31 times. The defense was prepared for anything and everything. They're not going to do that much this year. And so if they do get put in a couple bad situations, you almost bring that back up from last year. It's like, oh, we're used to this. We can play with our backs against the wall a little bit. This isn't the worst thing in the world. So, yeah, I do think I would like them to err on the side of aggression with him rather than going into a shell, which I don't think they'll do. Judging on Rule's kind of attitude and how he's approached the beginning of this season, I feel like that's the way they're sort of headed. All right, good question there from Lee. Appreciate you. We're just 15 minutes or so away from the beginning of our roundtable here from Oscars. Come by, grab some lunch, order some chicken wings if you're not a communist. You like that one, John?
I did.
You get a burger and fries for $8. That's part of the deal.
I like commie as an insult.
Yeah. Don't be that. Get some chicken wings and make them char buff and make everybody in your party happy. We'll be back with the odd news after this on 1620 The Zone.
And now we've reached the point in the show where Josh Odson reads the peculiar, the bizarre, the comical, the odd news with Odd Son. Odd news, Odd Son. See what we did there? The odd news with Oddson.
All right, it's time for the odd news. The crowd's filling in, including our table is getting full now. Now we're just talking to the Josh. Put on the 360 cam.
Yeah.
Show all of our dear friends.
Let's take a look at these jabronis.
Yeah, what are they up to? What are they? Well, John just put his laptop in front of the entire thing, which is great. Wow, I kind of like that.
I do kind of like that, actually. Yeah,
that's nice. All right, we'll get to them in a couple minutes, but we got the odd news first here. By the way, Jake writes in. He says, "Random Mike just saved someone's life."
He really did,
which is great. Thank you.
You couple that with check the back seat.
Yeah,
we're the most helpful radio station in Omaha.
I would agree with that. Here's Matt Rule on the kicker.
Did he tweet win?
He did not tweet, but people are tweeting about what he was saying.
Oh.
He says that Nebraska may use 2 kickers on Saturday. Could be John Hull from further out and Tristan Alvano from shorter distances. That sounds promising.
What if you just used the one?
The one who can kick from further out?
Yeah, because he can probably kick it from short.
Possible. It's possible. You know the saying about if you have 2, you don't have any?
Uh-huh.
It might apply to kickers. It might. We'll see. Odd news, Josh. What do we got?
The Chicago Bears are having their butts saved. This article does not say butts, by the way. After former player, and Nick, you might have to help me with the pronunciation here, Theo Benedette. Benedette nailed it, made a crucial rookie mistake. Here's the deal. The Canadian lineman had a memorable moment on the final episode of Hard Knocks this week. I know you all watched it, but let me recap it for you anyway.
I don't watch any Hard Knocks this year.
When a scene, they can't swear this year. It's against the McCaskey's philosophies.
Go Bears!
Winning. That's right.
Thank you, John.
Let's
hear one for the audience. Nice.
A scene revealed that Benedette was tasked with picking up some butt wipes for his teammates. He came back with a container of Clorox wipes instead. So Dude Wipes is hooking up the Chicago Bears. The whole locker room erupted in laughter when Ryan Bates broke down the mishap, and that lineman was cut from the team, sadly. They claim it to not be over the Clorox
whole wipe
mistake.
situation?
Yes.
Go Bears!
That's right.
That's what I want to hear from a football team who's going to be good this year. They're going to be good. But Nick Hanley doesn't believe it.
They're all going to have bleached butts.
He's caught up in stuff like this.
Look good, play good, baby.
He's caught up in stuff like this. Caught up in all the wrong things.
We have a fast food burger wars update. It appears as though October, Wendy's will roll out its latest burger, and it is a collab. We love a collab, don't we, folks?
2 hot coffees.
That's right. They will be premiering a SpongeBob SquarePants Krabby Patty.
Everything is SpongeBob.
That's right. Pulled this one especially for you, Connor. Wendy's and Paramount reportedly bringing the undersea fast food meal to life. Wendy's and Paramount have not yet confirmed, but internal memos have been leaked that October 8th we'll see the rollout of an actual Krabby Patty available at Wendy's locations in honor of the show's 25th anniversary. The Krabby Patty collab will be available. That's what they're calling it, not me. It will be available as part of a meal for adult consumers and fans to experience across U.S., Canada, and Guam.
Totally something that adults want.
Absolutely.
A Krabby Patty.
There will also be a secret Krabby Patty sauce so that Plankton cannot steal the secret formula. Plankton's a character.
That's right. That
on
was
the show. He runs the rival restaurant.
He tries to get the Krabby Patty recipe.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And he fails.
Yes.
Incessantly.
They will also have a pineapple under the sea Frosty. Now, this just sounds gross. This is going to be a pineapple and mango Frosty.
Definitely.
That sounds horrible. So Connor, your thoughts?
I'm anti all of that.
It sounded like you were out on that.
Yes,
Just
indeed.
wanted to clarify.
Indeed.
And finally, you're a parent.
Yes.
Now, you have not taken the daughter to a museum yet.
No, she hasn't gone anywhere in her whole life.
Great take. A 4-year-old boy, while touring a museum in Israel, every parent's worst nightmare, knocked over a 3,500-year-old jar, and it broke when it hit the floor. The boy, who was not identified, near the entrance of the Hecht Museum Friday when the family came across a crockery that dates back to the Bronze Age, 2200 BC.
That's awesome.
The boy's father, only identified as Alex, said his son pulled the jar slightly because he was curious about what's inside. The tug was enough to send the jar falling, crashing into pieces on the museum floor. Alex told the BBC, "I was in shock. It could not possibly have been my child that did that."
Yeah.
Sure enough.
I think that's on the museum, though. You got to put that in behind a wall.
Yeah, a little bit of that's on the museum. You got to have that in a case,
100%.
on a very tall stand.
If it is able to be touched by children, it's going to be.
Yes,
right. Like
yes.
they're going to do that. So put it behind a wall, and you don't have to worry about that situation.
My child was bound and determined to touch the woolly mammoths at Morrill Hall this summer.
Of course. Now, he was allowed to do this, right?
No, there was a velvet rope.
Okay.
But that was all that was stopping him.
Yeah, got to put a wall there.
Yeah.
Glass wall, very important. All right, thanks, Josh.
Thank you, Connor.
That is the odd news. We'll come back. Everybody's here. They're ready to go for El Roundtable 2024. We're back after this from Oscars on 1620 The Zone. Ladies and gentlemen, here we are. It is the conclusion, the grand finale of Red Out Week here on 1620 The Zone. And we're here at Oscar's Pizza and Sports Grill, 172nd and Center. What?
So the week's over today.
The week is over right now.
So we're off tomorrow.
Actually, no, 1 hour left. You have an hour left of work. And then,
sweet.
We have an hour left of work,
but
and then that's it?
Red Out Week ends, and then it becomes just week. Week? Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
How
W-E-E-K.
Oh, thank you for clarifying.
Yes.
Well, we did get that email that tomorrow everyone in the office, they're off at 2.
You guys
so.
have a show tomorrow. We have no
Let's
show
go.
tomorrow.
Wait a minute. What
nice.
email is that? You guys never get included on that either,
Nope.
Gary.
You morning slobs have to be there. You guys are done it too. Good job.
Hey, thank
enjoy
you.
the long weekend. The extra long weekend.
it'll be great.
Yeah.
I'll need to recover after that long night of watching North Dakota State whoop that Colorado. You know what?
Oh, hello.
Where's Buff Josh?
No.
Have you guys seen Buff
Hey.
Josh today?
Hail to the Buffaloes. Hail to the Buffaloes.
He looks
You want
insane.
Colorado to
Oh,
win.
my gosh, look at him.
You want Colorado to win.
He is wearing a Travis Hunter
Oh, my
jersey.
God.
With he was wearing a cowboy hat
He's got the
earlier.
white cowboy hat.
And his Coach Prime sunglasses.
Oh, my
Wow.
God.
Good Lord.
Yeah.
You know, you know what the irony was, though? His weight person today was wearing a Sean Keeler costume. So, kind of a rough day.
like?
Wow.
It's kind of odd.
Sean
Kind of
Keeler
odd.
will never go away.
Very specific.
So does Josh also like money over the First Amendment?
Good question.
Good question.
Poll question? Do I have access?
Money or the First Amendment?
Money or the First Amendment?
Money or the First Amendment.
Oh.
And that's how we begin our roundtable.
Matt Rule year 2.
Do we do Colorado season predictions for the first half and then Nebraska season predictions?
Not a bad
Or
idea.
is that what we
Good
do?
idea.
Not a bad idea.
Are they losing tonight?
No. I think they're
Probably
gonna
not,
cover.
but I hope it's a good game, and I think it will be.
Are
That'd
they
be fun.
covering tonight?
I think so.
Okay.
What is it, 9?
9.5.
Yeah, I'd say a 9.5. Go with the Bison to cover. Keep it tight.
That'd be fun.
Yeah. And definitely if it gets tight in the second half and in the fourth quarter, I'm going to
Then it'll be a nice little tension
I'm going
convention.
to throw on my greenest shirt that I have. And then just start yelling at my television. All right, anyway, Nebraska. Season predictions. I've heard so many season predictions.
We're already jumping into this?
Well, I think that's where you start, right? And then
We're
you just build
going
on
backwards,
that.
Gary, and then by the end, we're going to talk about,
Signing
what
day.
spring football was. Yeah, signing day.
Okay.
We're 2024 signing day December.
We're using an opener. Today.
Oh,
I've heard basically everybody say 8-4. Every 8-4 seems to be the base stock prediction at this point.
well, we've had a few 7-5s.
A few 7-5.
Simple was a 7-5,
I've heard a 9-3.
Jack Mitchell was a 7-5, but it's a bit.
but it's a bit, yeah.
What is that supposed to be?
Yeah, well, if they're better, then he can be like, I was just doing it for laughs. And then Mike Schaefer said 9-3.
Yeah.
And you guys have Schaefer on your show tomorrow. He is
Yeah.
very bullish on this team.
He has been bullish for a while.
Yeah.
I always do, when I leave the spring game, go, what does this program feel like? And it felt like 7-5. I still think it's 7-5. Now, this is one of the years that I would love to
But
be
it's
wrong.
not a bit.
It's not a bit.
Okay.
I think they're 7-5, and I would call that progress. And a bowl game is progress.
What's the difference, Gary, for you between 7-5 and 8-4?
Because I don't know if guys can handle when people expect them to win. We haven't seen that.
That's good.
So all of a sudden saying they're going to be 7-0 with a program that hasn't been able to stack 7 straight football games where you win. And I know things are different, but they had a chance to learn how to win games that matter on a Saturday in East Lansing last November, and they couldn't get it done. Then they couldn't get it done. I know there were a multitude of things, and they are a better football program than they were when the season ended, but I have to see it. So I think 7-5, you could talk me into 8-4, but I'm going to stick with 7-5.
Is everybody else at 8-4 at this table?
I'm at 8-4. Yeah, it's interesting because I was in a 7-5. I know. Okay, they lose Teddy Prohaska, so that's a big part of it. But for the most part, relatively healthy coming out of camp. Other than that big area where there is obviously a depth issue, so that's a big part of it. But I'm not even coming close to saying 7-0 right out of that gate. I think 5-2, 6-1 is close. But if they're to finish, if this is a better team, they grab at least 2, if not 3 wins in that backstretch, which to me would mark improvement. So that would lead me to 8-4.
Is it fair to say floor is 5, ceiling is 9?
Boy,
Yeah.
I would actually move the floor up.
Would you move you'd move it up to 6?
I think the floor is 6. I think they have too many things that they will not fall below, not get into a bowl game. Now,
I like John's floor. I'm with 5.
It would be injuries. They were decimated, and they got injured at a key spot.
But I also think, I do wonder if, and part of this is, when we go through our exercise of previewing all the 25 teams, I tend to get a better feeling about some of Nebraska's earlier opponents, and I just wonder if we're underestimating the front half of the schedule just a little bit.
Like the first 4 or the first 7?
The first 7, right?
Because basically we've divided this season into the first 7 and the last 5.
Right? So when you say underestimating, that'll be easier?
We're underestimating the other teams.
Oh, okay.
We're underestimating a Rutgers.
Yeah.
We're maybe not a Rutgers, but we're underestimating
Not a Rutgers
Indiana.
for me, you like
Colorado.
Indiana.
I like Indiana. I worry about that Indiana game.
So here's a fun game then. How many one-score games will Nebraska play in that first 7?
That's a good question.
So Colorado, it's UTEP, it's Colorado, Northern Iowa, home against Illinois on the Friday night, at
4.
Purdue, home against Rutgers, at Indiana.
Which 4? Out of the first 7, 4 would be Colorado, Rutgers. I'm going to throw in
Illinois. Those road games are not they're tricky. I'm not.
I don't know why, because I don't think they're a very good team at Purdue. First road game, 11 a.m. game, sleepy environment.
Dead atmosphere,
Yeah, so that one has been on my radar for a little bit as well. And then which one am I? There's one I'm missing.
Mr. Optimist, Mr. Schaefer said the Purdue game was the one when I asked, what's going to be the most painful loss. That was his first loss.
For Schaefer.
It's a weird game. It's a weird game. Nebraska's a better team on paper. It's the first road game, 11 a.m., sleepy Ross-Ade Stadium. I'm not saying that they lose that game, but I think that one is tight.
I think it's 3 or 4 one-score games. I think it's Colorado. I think Purdue is a good pick for 1. Illinois is another good pick for 1. Rutgers is a good pick for 1.
Rutgers for sure, yeah.
I don't know if it'll be Illinois. I mean, 400 sellout Friday night. I think it's going to be a really juiced atmosphere.
So you trade that for Indiana?
Yeah.
I'm going with 3. I think it's Purdue, Indiana, and Rutgers.
Whoa, not Colorado.
Not Colorado.
Okay.
You think they roll?
Yes. And I also think they beat Wisconsin by more than 1 score this year.
Ooh.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're looking at
Wisconsin. Shaking hands emoji, me and Connor on Wisconsin.
Okay.
But isn't it tough to make I know
it's a long way away.
Yeah, like it's where you could fast forward 3 months from now. What will the Iowa-Nebraska game look like? I mean,
it'll be cold.
It could be.
It'll be dark.
Remember,
it will be dark.
The thing about that game is very rarely, since Nebraska's been in the Big Ten, has that game meant something for both teams. Usually, one is up, one is down.
Correct. Yeah. And my thought
I think that ends this year.
Yeah, Nebraska's going into that game 8-3 this year
because I think Iowa could be a
playoff dark horse, right? Yeah, they could be playing for a playoff trip.
I won't even say dark horse. We're going to do our brackets today, and on my first run through, I had Iowa in.
So think about it. There's a real world where they're 9-2.
Is that 2 ranked teams in that game? Is there 2 ranked teams in that game?
I think
that's 2 teams that are maybe fighting for a playoff spot.
I think you'd be disappointed if Nebraska was not ranked going into that game.
It's like a 9-2 versus an 8-3 team.
Yep.
Nebraska trying to play spoiler and maybe get in backdoor, and Iowa just trying to lock up a trip.
Gosh, that would be something, huh?
Yeah,
that would mean
awesome. It would be amazing to see Nebraska playing a spoiler role as a ranked team, though, because they played spoiler role in that,
22.
The 2015 game when Iowa was undefeated and they're trying to wreck that. All those things. If they're ranked playing spoiler role, then success.
Okay,
that is a success.
That would mean something.
Now, wouldn't that be something that game finally? There's something on the line in that game, and the divisions are no longer around.
I know
because the way they set up Black Friday was Nebraska and Iowa were going to play to go to Indianapolis.
Something's on the line, but it's not a Big Ten championship game spot.
Yeah.
4th place.
But in the Big Ten, 4th place,
yes,
maybe your punch ticket to go to the playoff. And you're
that is going to be so hard to. I mean, I've had a hard enough time wrapping my arms around the idea that we can now openly tout that you are paying players. I mean, Baylor's wearing T-shirts saying we pay players. It's going to be hard for me to wrap my arms around finishing 4th place in an SEC or a Big Ten, and you might be a playoff team.
Well,
That's just going to seem
so
weird.
as John said, we're picking the playoff today. We pick the NFL every year. That's very easy for me to do because I can wrap my arm around it. It was really hard. Like, okay, so let's see. How many SEC teams do I want in here? How many Big Ten teams do I want in here? A second-place team from the Big 12, but not the ACC? It was very odd, just kind of putting the everything in front of me.
Well, and then I think that comes with, like, the expectations, too. It's not that crazy to ask Nebraska to be in the realm of a playoff spot in the month of November.
Because if they're
and there's
ranked when we get to November,
right.
Aren't all teams that are ranked when we get to November part of the conversation?
100%. Yeah. So there's probably 35 or 40 teams right now who are
Correct.
saying, like, yeah, I want that this year. And they're not crazy.
John and I in July, we did an exercise where we went back to the start of the CFP, and I found the lowest ranked team in the initial standings that made it in. What was it, 3 times? It was unranked teams that made it into what would now be the top 12 or top 11. I think November is going to be nuts because we're not really knowing, and it's like, oh, wow, this team and this team and this team, they're all in the mix.
Well, the Big Ten agrees with you because look at their scheduling.
Exactly.
Look at the month of November in this conference.
Loaded. November 2nd is
so it's also loaded where the teams that are going to go on to the playoff are going to learn how to navigate. I mean, you're going to have some depth. You're going to have to be injury-free. You're going to be worn out by the time you get to November. That that bye will make a big deal.
When we think about the end of the season and how it's felt around here, obviously we've been beaten down by losing a lot, but chances are you're on your second-string quarterback. I mean, you're dealing with a whole bunch of injuries. There's a world where you have like 5 games left after that.
Yeah. Yes.
You're like at the
and they're all
red-shirted.
Yes, exactly. But the red shirt rule, so we're good.
I mean, that's a crazy thing to think about. I mean, that Ohio State and Michigan always put their best into that game, but they're beat up too. It's the end of the season. It's amazing what that game will look like when both of those teams might have 3, 4, 5 games left after that one.
All right, so we talk about floors and ceilings, and Gary, you just mentioned, needing depth, needing backups. What's going to cause us stress that the floor is going to hit versus the ceiling on Nebraska if their depth is challenged? Where's
offensive
that going
line?
to be?
Yeah, tackle.
Offensive line.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we're all nodding in agreement with Josh, and he's absolutely right. Nebraska is going to start the season with a walk-on who has yet to play as a backup tackle.
Yeah.
They are. So there's 2 positions on offense. Nick and I have talked about this that I think they are paying for past sins is running back and offensive tackle, where they've had poor evaluation development. They've had injuries. So all of a sudden they're very light or not what you would expect at those positions. That, I mean, we probably need to talk about the backups to a Corcoran and a Benhart. And, oh, my God, what happens if they get injured? Because then I think it becomes a Mazuka or somebody moves out, but that disrupts on your offensive line.
See, that's why I've been asking the question all week, who on this first depth chart among the second or third teamers is going to have the biggest impact on the season? And I almost wonder if that person, good or bad, could be a Gunnar Gatula. Who could be the backup at either of those tackle spots and could be needed.
And here's what is unfortunate about that is he's injured.
Yes.
This would be an opportunity for him to play this weekend.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, play if the game goes where Nebraska wants it to go, but also I think get him into a series early in the game, and he won't play this weekend.
So we know Grant Segrin is the other tackle. Who's the 4th tackle right now?
So
does it exist?
Well,
are you moving like a Litovsky or
is there?
Well, so they would if they had to get to that point. I think you get back into the Jacob Hood conversation.
Not appearing on the first step chart, by the way.
But again, and you also, speaking of the redshirt rule and tackle, is you have 2 young tackles that you like in Pyle and Bricks, but you don't want to burn their red shirt, and they're not ready to play right now. But maybe if they show you something, then you go, okay.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, they show up on a Monday on a depth chart as the number 2 guy.
Which will be awesome for them when they start the Big Ten championship, the quarters. No.
What did you guys say yesterday? You could play, is it 9 games?
You play 9 games because you got 4 in the regular season, and then if you have a conference title game, and if you lose,
wow.
you could play 9 games and not burn
16
and not burn a red
more
shirt.
than half the season. Yeah.
Isn't that stupid?
And
9 games used to be a full season way back when.
Yeah. To go back to the offensive line thing, I mean, it's not like we feel great about Turner Corcoran either. up front. So, I mean, that's absolutely the answer to that question. That is the position where if it all of a sudden starts getting beat up or guys aren't kind of rising to the occasion, yeah, you start to smell that floor a little bit. But at the same time, like, you could flip it and say, well, the defense is going to be good almost no matter what, right? That should affect the floor as much as anything.
Yeah, and how good they are affects how much it moves up or down.
Absolutely.
Like, if they're as good as they were last year,
Yep.
what is that, a top 50 third down defense, top 25 in some other categories, what does that mean for the team? Versus if they're able to get to, like, a top 15 unit,
I think any improvement by the defense right now, we talked about this morning, and Gary has it says, would you say a defensive identity team?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so if they stay where they are from a year ago, but the offense is more serviceable, okay, then I think maybe you're at least hitting a floor of, I think, 6. But if the defense takes a big step forward, meaning takeaways, you're getting even more pressure on the quarterback, and you're generating that with 4 down linemen as opposed to having to get exotic. And then you look at, again, the offense having incremental progress, but the defense takes a major step forward. That's where you do get into I think the ceiling of it, and that just goes back to the part about the offense not having to be this top 8 offense in the conference, an offense that has to be serviceable, an offense that I think we'd all agree has a chance to do even better than that. But going back to what we have on the offensive line, the depth part of it, if that thing works out, Dylan we know he's an improvement from what they had a year ago, but we talked about running backs too. How much are you getting out of them when it does impact the wide receivers that are elevated? So there's areas of this offense that I think we feel very confident are elevated, but running back, is that going to be – I don't even know if the running game, if you have to average as many yards as you did a year ago for this offense to take a step forward, as long as you're getting more out of the wide receivers. But do the running backs take an even bigger step back? What does that do to the offense's collective progress this year is the biggest question for me.
So this is the way we framed it, and I think this is a good one for everybody here, is Nebraska will sink or swim because of what? And now we use a position group, and I said defense, because to your point, Josh, I think if Nebraska defensively is the same, that's good, but I would be, kind of a letdown, because I think they need to be better than they were last year. The schedule is a little bit different on the back end, but they're older. They do have some they're younger in some spots, but I expect them to be better. So that's why I say this team will sink or swim by the defense.
Yeah. So are you asking, like, what is an unknown, or
no? Like, what are you basing? If you say 8-4, you're basing Nebraska will be 8-4 because of, and I would say defense, for example.
Yeah.
Some might say Dylan Raiola, stop right there. Period.
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah. This is a defensive-oriented football team.
It is, but if you're assuming that they're going to be at least as good as they were last year, the difference is going to come from the other side, which did not hold up its bargain. So I say it's Dylan, it's the offense, because to me this season is kind of not a math problem, but it's a math question.
An equation.
Because the average college football offense, and we did this exercise over the summer, gained 5,000 yards.
Yeah, it was right in the middle of the country.
Right in the middle of the country. How's Nebraska getting to that? Not that yards always equate success, but if you're trying to elevate from a low offense to at least something mid-level, you're going to have to gain around 5,000 yards. Where's that going to come from? If you're asking Dylan to throw for over 3,000 yards, you're asking him to set records at Nebraska as a freshman.
Yeah.
Are you asking that running game to elevate? It's and we're gonna look at running backs more specifically today, but man, the running backs are going to be asked to do something they haven't done in years, and that is they're going to have to carry 80, 85, 90% of the rushing load. Are they ready?
This sounds crazy, but I'm actually putting more confidence in the guy who hasn't played a college snap yet. That I trust the ability for him to reach that and to have those type of expectations and fulfill them, as opposed to a running back group that is fine but doesn't wow you. Doesn't wow you at all. So I actually am putting my confidence level in a guy who has not played one college football snap.
If Dylan Raiola throws for 3,000 yards this year, it will be the 5th best single season passing yard mark in school history. That's not that crazy. Nebraska's not. It's behind Joe Gans, Zach Taylor, Tanner Lee's 2017, and Tommy Armstrong's 2015.
Well,
I actually don't think that's that crazy to ask.
Well,
for.
do 3,000 divided by 13. That's
Sure.
what you're doing.
And given what you just said, John, about not having that quarterback run game in there, we have been using Adrian Martinez as like this kind of baseline example. He threw for 2,600 yards in his freshman season. He also ran for another, 600?
643.
I believe. Nice. Good.
And he basically missed 2 games.
He didn't play the Troy game.
So what's so crazy about
limited.
3,000 for a guy who's not going to run for 600 yards?
It's-
I don't
it's-
think it's crazy.
It's not crazy, but it does show you just how dynamic we're asking a true freshman to have to be in year one if they are to elevate to what we would call a mid-tier college offense.
Yeah, and there's no doubt it's going to be harder for those running backs because they're going to run it conventionally. I wonder what they can do to get more creative with that, given that they will not have the quarterback run game this year.
And
They
so,
need to help
and
those
so
guys.
it almost begs the question, because the topic of the week has been Harburg's not a clipboard holder. Could he have more of a role than even we're expecting?
The Harburg question. We spent a lot of time on
It pisses Sybil off.
No, so go back to this about
It's starting to make me mad too,
Now-
honestly. I don't know.
Now Nebraska
I'm
has
over
to
it.
Nebraska has to get to the point of when they want to run the football, they can run the football.
Yep.
And I
Yep.
think they're going to throw it a lot. I mean,
I do too.
You don't hand the guy the keys to the car and say, "Hey, only drive in the neighborhood." But they're going to have a little bit more play action. I think they will run a little bit more RPO than we expect.
Yeah.
So they will open it up. And I just think the dynamic of the threat of you've got multiple weapons in the passing game is going to benefit Nebraska greatly.
Yeah.
I mean,
They will go to where their strengths
and
are.
also there's another thing. I think this is a better group. They become a better group. Now there's some that are better than others of catching the ball out of the backfield. Like the screen pass is back in play at Nebraska.
It is.
It is. You're
I
right.
mean, because you have a quarterback that simply can play pitch or catch and has a nice soft touch on the ball. That's
an extension of the run game.
So one thing they've done with Harburg here, Harburg has actually improved in the screen game in short passes. So I think all of those things will lead to better rushing. But here's a good question: do you have
I don't
more?
need Harburg throwing screens. That's for sure.
But his short game touch on the ball is a lot better than it used to be.
Is it better than Dylan Raiola's?
No. That's a whole different
Right.
discussion.
Right.
You don't take a
So
five.
when's he
you don't
gonna
take
be
a
throwing
fi-
screens?
You don't take
Never.
a 5-star off the field.
Yeah.
But more likely for Dylan Raiola to throw for 250 yards in a game, or for running backs to get you 250 yards rushing in a game.
Okay, repeat the question. 250 for running backs in a game.
4 running backs combined for 250 in a
Okay.
game, or the quarterback throws for 250.
I still think it's
Dylan.
Yeah.
Yep.
Dylan, for
I think
sure.
Nebraska's going to run it for about 160 a game this year on the high end. Like that would be a great number for them. And that wouldn't that's way short of what it was last year. And I think that would be mid-range in the country. I don't they're going to have to get the bare minimum out of that run game this year, I think. And assuming that the defense is just as good, and they'll put a lot of that control in Dylan's hands. Absolutely, Dylan's the more likely guy.
What was that number you quoted?
I'd said 160. Give it 160.
160 would have put you basically Wisconsin, 62nd in the country.
That's
Middle of the
fine.
pack?
That's
You'd take
enough.
that, especially the passing game. Is
I think
elevated.
that's
The
enough.
product of that.
Do you think that's enough?
So let's say you're going to throw for 160. What did you guys figure out you need per average to get to 5,000 over the season? What do you need in a game?
I'm saying run.
So
for
five.
160.
So 5,000 is what divided by 13 is 385 yards a game.
Okay, so
Which
now,
doesn't sound like a lot.
No, it doesn't.
85 minus 160.
Well, last year it was a
so,
lot.
what was the
so that's
running-
actually a good formula.
Yeah,
So
220.
Connor's 160 rushing, and then do the passes.
230
Right?
gets you to
We got it.
3,000 yards.
It's done. Math is done.
Boom.
We figured out the whole season.
Go us.
What you get if volume from a passing volume standpoint, and you have the receivers that you think you have that have elevated that room, 230 is not a lot, in my opinion. That's not a lot.
No.
It's very
230
doable
last
with the
year
type of
for-
skill set that Dylan
That's
Raiola
the
has.
43rd best quarterback in 2023
Okay.
per game.
Not bad. And with a great defense, that might get you
Yep.
to where you want to go. All right, we are at Oscars. Come join us for some lunch. They have burger specials going on right now. Burgers and fries for $8 at Oscars until 3 o'clock. Connor Happer shows here, Unsportsmanlike Conduct until 6 o'clock at Oscars. 172nd and Center. We'll be back with more of the Roundtable coming up on 1620 The Zone. Indeed, the Red Out Lunch at Oscar's Pizza and Sports Grill, brought to you by Union Bank and Trust, the conclusion of Red Out Week this season. So I want to piggyback off a couple of the conversations we were having in the previous segment. By the way, Connor Happer, Gary Sharp, Nick Hanley, John Bishop, and Josh Peterson all here for lunch. It's going to be delicious. You guys are putting in your food orders, I see already, which is smart.
Some of us have already had our lunch.
Some of us are smart as well.
Had no shot.
Nice job.
Well, you're
Nick.
also up at like 4 a.m. So.
Yeah, it was like dinner.
Yeah.
I'd like to read you guys a text from our text line. Give me a second. It might take me a little while to read. You all need to stop drinking whatever it is you're chugging. All these predictions of 7-5, 8-4, 9-3 are nuts. Just because of a 6-star quarterback who has never played a down of college football, who is going to block for him? The O-line made no improvements. It's mostly the same guys who couldn't protect the quarterback last year. Who's going to run the ball? It's the same guys everyone was disappointed in last year. And the line won't be opening holes for them. The receivers are all untested except the ones who couldn't get open last season. I don't know if that's true. Every year, you media guys forget how bad the same players were last year. I predict Dylan Raiola gets hurt in the Colorado game and is out for the season. Wow. They go 5-7 after starting 4-1. Raiola transfers after the season. You have to remember the curse of the Maverick is strong.
Oh, good
Interesting.
God.
Wow. Interesting.
I've never heard of a curse of the Maverick, but okay.
It's strong, apparently.
It's a good roundtable, at least for 31 minutes.
Yeah.
There's a lot of optimism here.
Oh, well, that was a fun season.
So can I just, like the wide receivers?
Yes.
Jamal Banks was pretty good at Wake Forest.
Definitely tested.
Jalen Lloyd, when he got to play, was tested and performed pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Nair.
And Naor has shown flashes. He's been tested.
Yeah, tested. That's definitely better. And to be clear, like that is where a lot of the optimism comes from. I'm starting to sense that a lot of the optimism for this entire team comes from the improvement in that room.
Because remember when Raiola, when all that stuff went down in December, it was like, that's cool, but who's he going to throw to?
Yeah.
And now the answer is, well, those guys.
Yeah.
Really good players.
And they all seem to have hit, too, based on what everybody has said throughout fall camp.
Well,
look, those guys are leaders.
And Fedoni.
Last year, a guy that started 6 games and had 599 snaps, those two guys are third on the depth chart.
100%.
Exactly. That's actually a great thing for Nebraska.
Right.
Yeah. I don't think that's blowing smoke.
No, that's a real life thing.
The coach is acknowledging something.
Yes, that's a real life thing.
And you have a quarterback who is better designed to get them the football. I mean, a lot of the productivity or lack thereof last year was because Harburg struggled in that game, and Nebraska's offense in general struggled. So, you know, when you have a better quarterback, theoretically, and listen, we can address the offensive line. Yeah, the sack rate was not great last year, but again, there was no give and take. There was no the running game is helping support the pass game and vice versa. No. Your offense was Heinrich Harburg running the football.
And throwing it deep twice.
And throwing it deep. That was basically your offense last year. It's going to be a lot more dynamic, at least diverse this year.
They'll just have the ability to do different things.
Yes. So we're all going to have to adjust on how they play offense at Nebraska. They threw in an open practice.
Yeah.
It was not to appease the fans. They threw a fade from the 5-yard line, and they completed it.
Yeah.
Okay?
They were practicing back. I went to a
Yeah.
practice. They were practicing back shoulder catches, something that simply the quarterback last year would not have been able to execute. That's it. Like, I mean, that is definitely different. I always respond to texts like that or whatever with this. Like, I would be confident in Nebraska this year to get to a bowl game without Dylan Raiola.
Same.
Without Dylan Raiola. The ceiling, that's where Dylan Raiola comes into play. Yep. But the floor is not about Dylan Raiola. It's about all the other stuff.
Well, you mentioned a diverse offense much more this year. And when Gary was talking about just the screen game, but even when we talk about smoke routes, we talk about swing passes, how many times people get so ticked off like, oh, another swing pass by Nebraska, and it's off time. It's behind the receiver.
Yes.
It takes him out. So then the entire sequence can't be successful. It gets blown up. When you have a guy that the simplistic throws of something like that where you got big-bodied guys out on the edge that can secure that. And
wide receivers running after the catch.
Yes,
maybe?
completing passes isn't just about getting it there. It's about getting it to them in the right spot so that their momentum is going the right way. Great point.
Right there is that's maybe not even a diverse offense. That's just a simple, basic function from a quarterback that has the ability to function as a quarterback.
Yeah. Should be pretty bare bones.
I look forward. I mean, you may get a smoke screen, or you may get the quick pass to the sideline, and listen, Adrian had a problem with this too.
Yes, he did.
Right? You might actually see one of those plays pop this year, and it'll all be because the ball was put in the right spot with the receiver going in the right direction,
for momentum,
and somebody making one block on the perimeter.
I love this. This is so simple.
It's a fair mention of the receiver as well.
Yeah.
We talked about the quarterback getting there on time too, and the receiver actually being there and being able to advance it upfield and blocking.
And throw in this is the kind of wide receiver. Last year, Nebraska's number one wide receiving threat was Billy Kemp.
Yep.
What did Billy Kemp do well? Where did Billy Kemp can only do his work? Now they have two guys.
What did Billy Kemp do well?
They put him in the
Billy.
slot. They put him in the slot.
Yeah.
But now they have guys that can stretch the field. And then, oh, by the way, you have a track star in Jalen Lloyd that will handle the middle of the field. And those are just three guys, and you have more. I mean, they have more diversity with the type of wide receiver that they will use.
Yeah.
And you finally have a quarterback that can make throws at all three levels. Right. That if a guy is going to sprint down the field, and because he is a speedster and he's 220 pounds and can beat a guy, the ball's going to be there.
Well, look at that slot
and you'll be able to throw it to him.
I mean, so you're going to see Lloyd in there a little bit. You're going to see Janier and Bonner to start, and you're going to see a guy like Carter Nelson in that spot. Like, that's three way different people.
And what did Glenn Thomas say last night? Basically, it's having a receiving core is like, I want a basketball team. I want the point guard height. I want the shooting guard. I want the power forward. Then I want the big guy. I want the center as well.
Oh yeah, they can play different styles.
And then we haven't even gotten to a guy who will be impacted the most by a different quarterback, and that's Fedoni.
100%.
Exactly, because when you right, but when you have guys, and
riser.
that's why I think Fedoni could be. I mean, he could have a big year in terms of touchdowns, because in the red zone, when you've got those other threats. And now instead of teams just having, we got to make sure, 24 is taken care of. Don't worry about the rest of these cats. Now you got to worry about the rest of these cats. 24 can do a lot more work. And this could be a year where the tight end actually has a big year. Not in terms of, he's not we're not talking 50 catches. We're not talking 50 catches, but we're talking 6, 7, 8 touchdowns.
What's the tight end receiving record? Wasn't it Hoppus from a few years ago?
Well, in the last 10 years, Austin Allen had the best season in the last 10 years.
Austin Allen, that was it, yeah.
But Hoppus had the second best.
Oh, my God.
So Austin Allen would have been 21, right?
Yes.
He had, what was it, 5 something?
It was like 600 yards and 35 catches or something like that. And Hoppus was over 30 catches but had like 350 yards.
Austin Allen, 38 catches for 602 and 2 touchdowns that year. That's a number that I feel good about Thomas Fedoni eclipsing.
Having 2?
More than 2
They had
touchdowns.
4 last year, so.
Yeah.
I mean, could he double that number?
8 touchdown catches?
Yeah, especially, as you mentioned, the red zone. But I think there's plays for him to be had even beyond the red zone when he gets loose. Again, if the wide receivers play up to that level, take attention off of him.
The ball
is delivered on time.
I look forward to the discussion about, God, they really screwed over Ethan Carter and Kyler Reed. They start using tight ends like they're supposed to.
Yes.
Yeah. Justice for those guys. I think
still remember
Ethan.
I was a big Kyler Reed fan.
He was the starting tight end for 3 straight years.
I'm telling you, one of the guys at that position that they wasted, and I think I heard you guys when you guys were doing tight ends yesterday, and I think it was Josh, Ethan Carter.
We got
Ethan Carter was one of the guys that was wasted.
We got to get 8 catches for one of the years when he was leading the team.
He led the team. He led the team in tight end catches with 8.
We got to the point in Ethan Carter's career where to get him the ball, they had to give it to him on end arounds.
Yeah, end arounds. Yeah,
I remember that in that Rutgers game that one year.
Yep.
Yeah, it was like we're gonna hand it to him.
Yeah,
we feel like he's good. We have to.
Hey, remember that one time Keith Jackson went 85 against Nebraska? That's what we were hoping to get Ethan on that play.
So you guys bring up something interesting. We were talking about this earlier in the show. I think quarterback touchdown passes is like a super indicative number of their success this year. Like they passed for 10 last year, and we do a lot of comparing to last year. It's not going to be anything close to the same. 10 touchdown passes, but this dates all the way back to Adrian after Adrian's freshman year. I think he threw for 17 his freshman year. We were checking it out earlier. Like, it should be expected that the Nebraska quarterback throws for 20 touchdown passes. It's not that crazy. Certainly way more than what they did last year. And in the red zone, it's going to be something that they are expected to do because of their shortcomings in the run game. They'll have to put it on Dylan Raiola's shoulders sometimes. So I'm curious to see what that number ends up being.
Well, this is where I get into the size of the wide receivers too, even in the red zone. But we're talking about in that open practice, getting the fades from 5 yards out. I mean, that's stuff that when you have a competent wide receiving core, and this also goes to the quarterback, but a competent wide receiving core, when you watch this in the NFL almost every Sunday, teams are confident that they can do that. And it's not necessarily they're not confident that they can run the football in, but they have the quarterback and they have the wide receivers, the height and the physicality to do that, to get off their man, to be able to make those catches.
Yeah.
This is, again,
or
goes
he'll
back
just
to
open up space to run.
You have from a wide receiving standpoint and a quarterback that can put the ball in a spot, not asking him to do ungodlike things, but just do basic things in the red zone too. So, again, that's a boost.
Can I ask you guys a question? It's just an observation on my part. Of all the things that all of us have talked about in the offseason, have any of you guys spent time talking about Marcus Satterfield play calling?
No.
Because remember this time probably last year, we had sliced and diced South Carolina apart and how people felt about him.
Yeah.
And then things got disjointed and he had to adjust. And we kind of forgot about the Marcus Satterfield play calling. Then a 5-star quarterback came in with wide receivers. I don't think
people were throwing him under the bus last year.
But since then, since Dylan Raiola showed up, has anybody brought up?
I'm not worried about it.
I wonder how Marcus.
I mean, there's some people that have him on a hot seat already going in.
I think Marcus Satterfield.
Now, if you do, I didn't hear that. But
I'm sorry.
No.
What's at
I've heard
stake?
What's at
mention
stake?
it.
I asked Ms. Sherman on Monday, what's at stake for him this year?
I think that he's probably looking forward to his victory lap this year.
You think so?
Yeah, I do. Because last year he was handcuffed and people threw him under the bus, and now he's got a quarterback who could actually throw the football.
Now, I'll ask you the same question because when Josh and I had this conversation, how much of that credit's going to go to Dylan and Glenn Thomas?
It's going to all go to Dylan.
Versus
Yeah,
Marcus.
They'll say what changed.
And if the offense is
right there.
bad or it turns it over, whatever, Satterfield's the first to get piled on.
But even last year, I think we all remember, and I don't know if a lot of fans wanted to always admit it, but there were games where you could watch and say, hey, that was a pretty good idea. That's a pretty good design. That's a pretty good call, but it was not executed because of either who you had throwing the football or God knows what was going on in the front. So there were moments you're like, oh, I like that. You just can't execute it. But people forget that.
Don't you feel like there's a world where Rule is having a press conference and he's like, I mean, Satterfield, he hasn't changed, and he's saying that as a compliment because of how well the offense is doing. Like, I know people want to give credit to Glenn Thomas, but Marcus Satterfield, he's still doing a good job, 100%.
Well, they're also a little bit of, like, so there's two people that are like Rule's guys. Evan Cooper was one. Marcus Satterfield is the other. So last year when people would push on Satterfield, he would say, you should come to practice because actually you ought to see where Harburg was when we got him to where he is now. And so Rule went hard against people that leaned on Satterfield. So it's curious they really haven't brought him up. They've kind of just let him do his thing. He went out and got a quarterback coach so Satterfield could essentially slide to tight ends, a position group that he's more comfortable working with, and then just call plays. And no one talks about the OC at Nebraska, or very, very little.
This makes me nervous because we brought this up this morning. If you guys remember this time last year, Gary brought up a question of Jeff Sims.
Oh God.
And about turnovers and about, hey, why have we not talked enough about that?
The answer was yes.
No, but at the time we hadn't. Well, talked a little bit about Georgia Tech, but everything seemed to be sort of.
We thought he would tone it down.
We thought it would get better.
He could take snaps.
I don't know. There's something about Gary bringing that up where it almost kind of like harshed the vibe of, this will be fun.
Well,
and then it played out that way. So if there's
it played out that night.
There's awful play calling Saturday night, I'm blaming Gary.
The coaching things that people love to talk about is definitely offensive play calling, and also what cropped up last year, situational Matt Rule stuff. I mean, that was a lot. I imagine, Nebraska's going to be in a lot of close games. We talked about that part already. I would imagine that's going to crop up probably as a conversation.
When I say 7-5, I want to believe
giving one away for
I
that?
want to believe that they're going to be better there, but they were awful last year in game management.
Yeah.
And Rule with his staff, they were not good in game when it came to timeouts, when it came to the coin toss, when it came to personnel that was on the field that did not match what they were calling. I thought they really struggled there. and they have to be better. I want to give them the benefit of the doubt, and then year 2, there's more familiarity. They will become better in that. But that is something that I think we need to still continue to question is, did they get better in game management and play clock management and coin toss and all of that kind of stuff? Because now, remember, we have a new element of helmet communication, a 2-minute warning, all of that stuff that plays in that you have to manage the game and the possessions. And I need to see that to make the leap over into, okay, here we go. They fixed that.
Hold that thought. We will come back with our final segment from the Red Out Week Roundtable lunch here from Oscars Pizza and Sports Grill. Come on out. We'll be out here all afternoon. Back with one more segment next on 1620 The Zone. All right, we're back.
Your money don't jingle, it fold.
Exactly, Gary.
That's
Thank
what
you.
That's what their tagline should be at UBT.
What's that?
Huh?
Their money don't jiggle, it folds.
Yes.
Yeah, indeed.
By the way, John, minus 250.
Sounds better.
John was right.
Speaker sounds so much better right now.
Yep.
Cash it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well about that.
What does that mean? John was right, or does that mean Speaker was right?
John
No,
was right.
John was right. John thinks that it's something inside of the hardware.
But we changed the speaker.
Yeah, so John's right.
Is
And
that
it
the
hasn't
same
changed
chord?
anything.
Because it hasn't changed anything.
Oh,
Same
it's still
chord?
bad.
Yes,
Oh, okay.
it's still bad.
I can't hear it. Nice. Okay.
That's all right. Neither can they.
Perfect. Totally normal.
It's better than it was. I can
Totally
say.
cool.
better
Come
than
on
it
out
was.
and join us and listen to us just talk without
Yes.
the speaker
Yes.
at Oscars 172nd.
If you want, you can come over and
Center.
sit next to Connor, and we'll talk up. We'll speak up for you.
The Rutgers game starts at 5, so you guys will be on the air when the Rutgers will be playing. Very
glorious.
exciting.
And
Howard versus Rutgers. It's the game we've all been waiting
and then
for.
prepare for Dion's good friend Mark Jones on ESPN.
Yeah.
Oh, is
Oh,
it
is
a
that
Mark
who's calling
Jones
it?
joint tonight?
Yeah, so
Oh,
maybe just
my.
have the sound turned down and just visualize it.
Well, that does help me because I'll have the Minnesota game on at the same time.
Didn't
Oh
you
wait,
do-
no, is that Gus?
I was just going to check.
Is Minnesota,
I think
North
so.
Carolina,
Oh,
Gus
it's got to be
Johnson?
a Fox.
Yeah.
Well, it's a big
situation.
Fox, but is
Yeah.
it Gus
Yeah.
or is it Brando?
I think it's.
I don't know.
Or is it Benetti? Is Benetti doing double time?
I'm going
I
to
don't-
say
I
that's
don't know.
Gus.
By the way,
that's Gus.
Matt Rule, please do not kick another surprise onside in front of Jason Benetti. We do not need that accident to happen again
Oh, no.
on Saturday.
We cannot subject him to these things again.
No, he'll
Well,
never want to come back.
Will Matt Rule for the second straight year on the opening game run a trick play?
Well, that's
The
how they
lone
got their
touchdown
first
last
touchdown.
year.
And boy, did that look pretty.
Jeff Sims' best moment.
His only touchdown pass,
Was
right?
him running and chasing a fumble and then throwing a
Yet
touchdown.
it works. That right there should have told you more about Minnesota than Nebraska. That was awful. And it worked. We're back.
Well,
things that happened-
listen, it was a fumble rooski.
Yeah,
That
it was
counts.
all
creative.
gas, no
It was very,
brakes.
very creative.
Yeah, give me the trick play tonight or Saturday, I guess.
I think they're going to hold the trick play, especially for UTEP.
Well, when's the Heinrich stuff come out? When are we doing Heine
See a
stuff?
lot of Heinrich. A lot.
Heine stuff on Saturday?
Yeah, here we go. Here's a question. First time they're inside the 10, do we see Heinrich Harburg on Saturday?
No. Heinrich Harburg will play 0 snaps on Saturday.
Zero.
What? 0.
Whoa.
Like
Oh,
not
he won't
even.
even come in and back up?
Nope. 0.
Who's going to come in when they're up by 30?
Is it going to be Jalen or
It's-
Danny?
Well, they're not going to be. No. I don't think there's going to be that much blowout time, guys.
Wow. Hater.
Like 8 minutes, maybe?
What do you think it's going to be? 86-7? Like,
Yeah, but if
They're up
it's
45
if
for
it's
like
if it's 30
17
if it's
with
31
my
7
final
minutes
score
to
prediction
go?
is 33-13.
okay, so if it's 33-13 with 5 minutes to go, you don't think Heinrich
Yeah, they
gets in
would,
again?
if they got the ball, they'd put in a backup.
That could be a Kalen moment. That could be a Kalen
So you think
moment.
they'll go Kalen before they'll go Harburg at quarterback?
I don't.
I don't think it's because of that. I just think you have an opportunity to put the young guy in for a meaningless series. Do it.
I think Heinrich
Wow.
gets less than 5 snaps, but he gets in.
0 Heinies.
Wow. What a take.
Somebody's got to have one.
Wow, that 42-10 prediction I had looks a little different.
42-10 seems fine.
I think Nebraska would love to get into a situation that they take care of business and 3 quarterbacks can take snaps. I'm more intrigued to see Danny Kalen than Harburg because I need now to see all of this buildup in the last 2 weeks of Danny Kalen.
Yeah.
I agree.
Because the Danny Kalen at the beginning of camp still looked like a true freshman that was trying to figure things out, but his body looked different compared to the discussion around him in the last 2 weeks. I want to see that guy now because you've got me very interested that you would even commit to a discussion about your backup quarterback playing elsewhere because you possibly have this guy that you really, really trust. So I would like to see Kalen ahead of Harburg, but it won't happen.
To be honest with you, I think a lot of the Harburg stuff, if I'm going to take it a step further, I think a lot of the Harburg stuff is kind of blowing smoke. I think they have reverence for him for what he did last year, but
You're not buying it.
I'm not buying it. No,
Interesting.
I'm not buying it.
Now, I think the gamemanship was the word a lot.
Yeah.
Yes,
there's no way.
absolutely.
You're not
Yeah.
taking a guy off the field. But
gonna be on
but this
the
whole
field.
discussion about quarterbacks, can we also just get to the point where we've talked about him for now well over a year, we all kind of want to see Dylan Raiola play.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like we want to see
if he's still
this,
in at 33-13, great.
Yeah.
because
I don't care.
he has not played a college football game, so it's not like, hey, get us to the middle of the third quarter, then have a seat. He needs to play football.
Yep.
No, he absolutely does because it's his first game, and by the way, Colorado's coming to town next week, and he'll have to play 4 quarters.
Yeah, it's not like
You're doing load management in week 1.
No.
You're not going to have a whole lot of opportunities to just blow people out. I mean, so get guys who aren't going to get snaps in important moments or haven't gotten snaps in important moments in those moments. Yeah, so I think Kalen would probably be that person. I know they don't want, obviously they're not going to go over the 4, but this would be one of the 4 in my mind. Yeah. Anybody else? Thoughts on that? Do you disagree?
Well,
Josh?
I think that if they get inside of the 10, I think we will see Mr. Harburg. Maybe not on the first drive.
As a what?
Will he be
They'll
a
put him in at
quarterback or
Wildcat, and they'll
Wildcat
do something. They'll do something, and he'll just run straight towards the line.
I think that's what they meant by
Plow.
he's too good to, because he's not going to be taking snaps away from the other tight ends or receivers.
I would hope not.
If he is, then they've been spending a lot of time in practice that I don't think they honestly didn't do.
I'd like to
so
see.
I think it's going to be it's short yardage. It's, hey, we want to switch things up by throwing the running quarterback out there. That's where you're going to see him in a non-backup quarterback.
Or do they put him in motion, toss him the ball, and have him throw it in the end zone or run it?
I'm fine with all that, just not this week. I think you rep.
Save that for Northern Iowa.
I think you rep the conventional stuff this week.
Yeah.
I think next week if you want to unveil the Heinrich Harburg plan and he comes out at a Wildcat quarterback and people get confused and they don't know what to do, I think that's the moment for it. I think that is a more important time for that. I just think this week, let's get the basics straight.
Not a bad idea.
Not
a bad idea.
We just talked about do they have this great ability to run the ball? Do we know for sure that they can run the ball? I want to find out if they can.
All right, so you win the toss.
Kick.
Do you kick off? Do you defer? Do you take the ball?
Defense, throw the bones.
I take the ball first.
Why?
I want Dylan on the field. Get him on the field right away.
I don't hate that idea.
Symbolic.
I don't like that idea.
You want to throw him
the ball.
deep, too, on the first play?
I don't know if you throw him deep on the first play, but
I want to put that defense out there. What's going on, guys? What?
I would, too. I would
put that defense out there.
I would want the defense on the field first. Dylan's going to get hit.
There is nothing like getting a 3 and out on the first possession.
But here's the thing, and I would not be surprised if this happens. Think back to last week's Florida State game, how they just marched down the field, and then Georgia Tech did the same thing first drive of the season.
Yeah.
I think first drive of the season, the offense has a bigger advantage because the defense isn't quite sure what to expect. Nebraska's still trying to figure out what's UTEP going to actually do.
Sure.
Right? I think the same thing can be said the other way around. I think Nebraska wants the offense on the field first because they're going to be able to get down the field. It would not shock me, and people will probably panic. It would not shock me if UTEP scores on their first drive on Saturday.
Would you like to put it on the list, on the short-term list?
Fine, put it on the list.
Wow, they're scoring on their
will
first
score
drive?
on the first drive.
Is that including a field goal?
Yes.
Okay.
Wow. Interesting.
UTEP will score on the first
Did
drive.
you guys watch Schaefer's Twitch game last night? Because UTEP was running all over the place for a while. They were everywhere.
I'll be honest, that's why I banged a pick.
After what he said, I feel bad because that would probably be the first caller then holding on Big Red Overreaction.
100%. That'd be a 4-hour
Down
hold.
7-0.
Yeah.
Definitely. All right, it's on the list.
Told you guys this wasn't going to work.
Very interesting. I think if Nebraska is presented with an opportunity to take control of the game and they have their offense or their defense as options, they're going with their defense.
I agree.
You're probably not wrong.
I just think that's your backbone.
Rule loves defense.
That's your team. Yeah, right there.
All right, defense.
Good round table.
What a round table.
Do we do
wings, rings, and football things?
Wings, rings, and football things. So we're all at 8 except for you.
Yep. I am working between 2 numbers, and one of them is 8. I have
You're
not
still
landed.
not home yet.
Oh, yeah, we are giving ours tomorrow. Okay. Spoiler alert.
8
Happer.
is one of the 2
That's
numbers.
what I thought the
I'm
round
okay.
table was for. I thought it was for predictions.
Why do I have a feeling you might be considering maybe even a greater number?
Oh, is he going to pull a
I'm
Mike
looking forward to
Schaefer?
listening tomorrow.
Why are you in my mind? What are you
Okay,
doing?
so
What are you doing?
If you are in the 9 category, where does Nebraska go with 9 victories? What does
Florida?
They're in the best bowl that's not the playoff.
Yeah.
Yep.
I have been waiting
all
for
of a
this
sudden-
forever.
But all of a sudden, you'd be 6-3 in the Big Ten, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That'd be the best Big Ten team to not make the playoff.
Or one of a couple of 9-3
And
teams.
given the interest in getting Husker fans back to a bowl site, oh my gosh, someone would be so pumped to scoop them up.
Orlando.
New York City, here we come.
Oh, you stop it,
Pinstripe
John.
We're going
boys
to
on the run.
where Gary's voice is at the airport, the Orlando
Yes,
airport.
Orlando.
Yes.
I would like that.
Take the tram and listen to Gary.
I would rather go to the Holiday Bowl. I know Nebraska went there a lot. San Diego.
Yeah, San Diego does seem cool.
But
Wait,
Josh,
do
is
they still
anywhere
play in
but
San Diego?
Detroit.
Where do they play it in San Diego?
Petco Park.
Oh, that's right.
Right, it looks like it's the Citrus Bowl would be the highest non-CFP.
That was Tennessee, Iowa last year.
I think
Iowa.
that's New
Oh,
Year's-
and what a game
I
that
think that's
was.
New Year's Eve,
35
New Year's
nothing
Day.
Tennessee.
Yeah, that was New Year's
Day. Yeah,
Or-
New Year's
Day.
Day.
It was New Year's Day
We were
last
in
year.
Washington.
It will
Oh,
be
man.
New Year's Eve this year, I believe.
Before the playoff
Yes.
game. Okay.
Yes.
That'd be sweet.
But whoever is wearing the nice bowl jacket that's going to present Nebraska with the opportunity, they're going to be bombarded. I mean, Nebraska
a lot
fans.
of questions.
Nebraska
Question
fans
for you.
will. You know what? 7 years I've been saving my money,
Oh, yeah.
and they
That
will
is
take
if
over
they
our
haven't
stadium.
shot all their load going to the volleyball Final Four.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting.
Might still be hurting from Dublin, too.
That's
still
true.
paying that credit card off from Dublin.
I feel bad. I feel bad for the Nebraska football fan because what if they were in the playoff and you're hosting a game at Memorial Stadium, but then the volleyball Final Four?
Oh.
Ooh.
Is that the same weekend?
That would be a great problem to have.
That'd be hilarious.
By the way, Happy, you're
That
right.
would be an
December-
amazing problem. to
December
have.
31st at 2 o'clock Central Time is
Sign
the
us
Citrus
up.
Bowl.
All right. Sign us up.
And
Disney
they-
World.
All right, so the era starts on Saturday. We think it could be just 3 years. During the course of 3 years, will Memorial Stadium host a playoff game?
That guy who texted earlier is going to text back for that question.
Yeah.
I'll play it
I'm
safe
gonna
and
say
say
no.
no.
I'll say no.
Yeah, let's also go with no.
Okay, well, then you have to go and prepare to go on the road to play a playoff game in the next 3 years. Out of the Big Ten Conference, where some years you might get just 3, maybe 4. What does that weird year you get 5?
So one playoff appearance.
In the next
3 years,
Dylan Raiola
starting
era.
This year. No.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm gonna play the Matt Rule. You know what he has done so far. I'm gonna say yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, but Matt Rule hasn't coached beyond 3 years at any
But
one
he has
school.
done it in year 3.
That's true.
So you're
Baylor-
saying next year?
Next
Next year.
I think he'll do it. I think he
Wow.
can do it.
I'm
John?
on an island by myself.
Yeah, why not?
Nice.
Yes. I think it would
That's
be.
4 yeses and
I'm
1
sorry,
no.
guys.
Hater.
I'm so negative right now.
Hater.
That's because
hater,
that's
yeah.
because he's got to save his money for those 3 straight Bears Super Bowl
That's
trips.
true.
That's true. Now that's good. Can't wait.
That's a great
Can't
parting shot
wait.
right there.
All right, guys. Thanks. This is great
Thank
as
you, Happer.
usual. We'll talk to
Thanks,
you again
guys.
at the spring game. We have a meeting of the minds
All right.
ahead.
See you then.
You know what? If they get to the playoff this year, we'll come back and do this for
There you go.
free.
There we
There
go.
you go.
Oh.
Whoa!
You heard it here first.
Why
John
not?
will do it for free.
All right, fine. I'll do it for free.
That is our roundtable. We're still live out here at Oscars. We'll be here until 6 o'clock. Back after this on 1620 The Zone. Oh, boy, I am ready for a red out lunch. Josh Peterson and John Bishop are eating a red out lunch right now.
What are they eating, Connor?
They have dubbed this Wings, Rings, and Football Things. I believe Nick had a great large hand. Nick Grimm had a large hand in
large hand Nick Grimm. Good nickname.
He did. Remember that picture where he's waving? He had that big hand. He had a large hand in naming that, and he is not here at the moment. So he's missing out on the Wings, Rings, and Football Things, as are you if you are not with us at Oscars.
Sad.
We head to the text line from Cody.
Hi, Cody.
So based on that roundtable, I have just booked an Airbnb in Orlando and looking for flights for the Citrus Bowl. We back.
We're coming for you,
That
Trev.
is an underrated question of the first 3 weeks or month or so of the season. Where will I prematurely book a bowl game trip to and then have it inevitably get canceled? Because I was so close, so close to being right last year.
Well, do we need to pull up our Big Ten Bowl affiliations?
I guess so.
Okay.
I was going to get your predictions since this is it for you on the show this week.
Yes. What would you like to know? What do I need to do?
Well, we're gonna have Bruntz on in a couple of minutes, and we'll get to the polls and what to watch, and then we'll do a crossover and the show. So do you have the Big Ten Bowl affiliations for the year? Are there any Big Ten Bowl affiliations?
Yes.
Anymore?
I don't know if you've heard. It's a rather large conference now.
All right.
Citrus.
Yes.
ReliaQuest.
No, we're going from good to bad.
Yes.
Here in this situation. Yes.
Duke's Mayo. Oh my gosh! I clicked the pop-up ad.
What are you doing?
I was trying to close it so I could read the.
Just scoot it down, man. Just scoot it down. Citrus, ReliaQuest, Duke's Mayo, Music City, Pinstripe, Guaranteed Rate, and Quick Lane. Canceled the Quick Lane. We're never going to Detroit. I believe those games are in Phoenix, New York City, Nashville, Charlotte.
That's the one, ReliaQuest.
I don't know what that is. And Orlando. Probably Tampa, something like that. I'm not 100% sure. But any one of those cities.
Tampa.
There you go. Any one of those cities, expect it, the trip. All right, Josh, you're off tomorrow. You're out with Iowa Western. You're taking the PJ out to, or I guess the CJ.
That's right, the CJ.
Out to the Atlanta area, in the state of Georgia. So you have to make predictions.
Oh, no.
Predictions for this upcoming football season. Have you settled on your win total, Mr. Josh Hodson?
I have. I am a reluctant 7-5 boy.
And you'll have to explain yourself, show your work. Why?
I just feel
you're not crazy.
I believe that running game, not at the start of the season, but later in the year when it gets colder and you're playing different teams, will be a problem.
A problem. You think they won't be able to run the ball?
I think we will have many a Monday morning where we go, why can't they just run the ball better?
Okay, so this is good. This is sort of an emerging narrative that we touched on in the final segment there of the. Well, maybe it was during the roundtable.
I was talking to Old Man Doug. I don't know what you guys talked about.
So
sorry if I stole a take.
Usually around here, when Nebraska can't run the ball, fans get angry, like you just said. But what happens to normal football teams when they can't run the ball is that they stop trying to run the ball. And people will go back to that team and they'll say, why don't they run the ball? Okay. And the answer is because they can't run the ball. So the emerging narrative here is that if and when that happens, they will jump Marcus Satterfield. Why aren't they running the ball? Because they can't run the ball. That's the answer.
Yes.
They should keep throwing the ball.
Please keep that in mind when you're throwing foam bricks at your TV this season.
I think that is an emerging narrative that we have to deal with. I actually think Nebraska's ability to make other things happen within the offense, be a little bit more diverse, will open up its ability to run the ball.
I like the passing game.
Well enough. I don't think it's going to be good.
Okay.
By really any standard, I think it'll be efficient enough. The number that I threw out there was 160 a game, and that's going to include probably a couple early season 250s.
Sure,
they're gonna pummel Northern Iowa.
Many of you are going to say, "But Josh, they ran so well against Northern Iowa." and I'll say it's Northern Iowa.
Indeed.
And you'll go, it still counts.
You'd be right about that. So and we're at the difference between one win here, and we all agree that they're going to be in close games. So you're a 7-5 guy. Do you have anything particular that you'd like to point out about what you think is going to happen this season? An oddly specific prediction, if you will.
I think this is oddly specific. You tell me if I'm wrong. Patrick Mahomes needs a Travis Kelce.
Yes.
Dylon will find his Travis Kelce this year.
And who is he?
One of those tight ends. I don't know who.
Really?
He's going to find one. And
it's definitely Thomas Fidone, right?
Yeah, probably.
Like it's not going to be Nate Borkircher or the new guy.
I don't know if they're just going to stick somebody there and it's just going to work like gangbusters.
Yeah, I would imagine that the leading candidate for that position would be Mr. Kelce or Mr. Fidone. Sorry, I get them very, very confused because they're a lot the same. Yeah, I think the tight end will be a part of the offense.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
That's the way the game is played now.
Do you think Nebraska beats Colorado in 2 weeks?
I do. I think that like kind of an ugly win, like find a way, one of those kind of games. I think that crowd is going to really bolster the team.
I think Nebraska's at their we'll obviously do this next week, but Nebraska will be at their best in a week. They will be ready to go for that thing, and I think they'll relatively comfortably take care of business in that game.
I like your version better.
Behind a very, very angry crowd.
Yes, shades of Miami.
I love a frothing at the mouth Memorial Stadium.
Yes.
And I'll say more than shades of Miami. That's going to be better.
If you're going to the game that day, if you will be in Lincoln that day, please imbibe.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Remember it. Take it all in. You get one angry game. You get one frothing at the mouth game every 10 years.
Yep.
That's the math on this now.
This is your one.
And this is your one. So enjoy it. And we'll have to look at that schedule for 2034. I think Oklahoma State's on
That's the only thing right now. Yep.
All right, we'll take a quick timeout. Michael Bruntz will join us on the other side. Speaking of oddly specific predictions, Michael Bruntz loves oddly specific predictions. I believe Matt Rule has spoken today as well. So we'll get Bruntz's thoughts on that as we finally head into game number 1. Michael Bruntz on the other side on the Connor Happer Show, live from Oscars at the Red Out Week Lunch, brought to you by Union Bank and Trust here on 1620 The Zone.
Broncos country, let's ride.
Breaking news.
Michael Bruntz.
This is the second time that breaking news has happened right when I come on the show. That's a good life lesson to be learned in all this. If you're going to give somebody over $100 million, make sure they're not weird.
Michael Bruntz, Husker 24/7.
Michael Bruntz joins us now via the 42 Degrees The Source hotline. Hello, Michael.
Hi there.
So what kind of sicko stuff we got going on tonight? Oh, 9 o'clock,
Yeah,
San Jose State and Sacramento State. You're in.
True TV.
Yep. It's there's some decently good sicko stuff tonight. You got Illinois playing a late game, right?
Yes, Illinois is at 8.
And then you've got late for this time zone. You've got, let's see, what else you got tonight? You got Minnesota for some reason hosting North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
You've got,
and then you got your Colorado North Dakota State situation.
The Buffalo Bison matchup, and it's not bad for a Thursday night in August. I'll take that.
No, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
It's a nice little appetizer. My palate is going to be craving some more for Saturday. All right, Bruntz. So I imagine you'll be up until probably post midnight tonight, checking out that San Jose State situation on True TV. But your morning and afternoon got started today with one final chat with Matt Rule. Anything noteworthy from that media session?
Well, the kicking position is decided, or it might not be decided. So that was noteworthy. Sounds like you may see Hull handling the further out kicks and kickoffs, and Tristan Alvano handling the closer in kicks. That may change based on how today went. So don't set that kicking depth chart just yet, but that's where it's trending. And then we got a little bit more clarity on the addition of LSU tight end Max Parkway, who showed up in Lincoln as classes got started this week, and is now on the football team and eligible for this season. So lots to kind of unpack there, but Nebraska, in a very, very late addition, got a 6'4", 260-pound tight end that played 12 games as a true freshman for LSU. So that's not bad as far as the collegiate waiver wire goes.
No, it's not. Also, he didn't even go into the portal. He just kind of showed up on the doorstep, which that's very, very interesting. We'll see how that one develops for them this year. Let's go back to the kicker thing, though. Has Nebraska ever tried the short kicker, long kicker situation, or I don't know. I feel sort of uneasy about this, Bruntz.
I was racking my brain, and I want to say that Nebraska back in like 2002, 2003, that era, tried to do it with somebody that kind of handled the short ones and the long ones, somebody different.
Is that during Jordan Congdon's time?
Oh,
yeah, David Dykes, I think, was involved in that somehow. David Dykes, who helped Nebraska avoid the shutout against Oklahoma that year. I don't know if the adage applies that if you have two kickers, you have no kickers. I don't know if that's a thing, but it's certainly something that is worth tracking here as Nebraska considers itself a team that's going to have to win close games. So
no doubt.
I do wonder though, as Alvano gets further away from the procedure and the injury, if that kind of clarifies itself a little bit. But we've heard multiple times from Ed Foley and Matt Rule that there would be more concern if the guys were not making kicks and they're making kicks. So that's something to kind of put on your hat there.
Yeah, it's funny because as far as we know, he was kicking. Alvano was kicking a couple weeks ago, but yet we're still kind of having this conversation. So I don't know. Something must not be going completely right for him. I'd mostly. I mean, it's amazing to me that Nebraska was a place that had kicker just locked away for so long, obviously spoiled, and then I don't know, call it about 2006, 17 or 18, things just went haywire. And, I mean, there was the one year where they had 6 guys, I think, kick field goals. I don't think that I've seen anything like this before. We're talking about kicker injuries. It's just not something that happens anywhere else.
I bet it does. I mean, you're right though on your time frame. It was around the time that Nebraska recruited a waiter from Lead Belly to kick field goals for him was when it seemed to be
Indeed
a little dicey. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think it's something they got to get figured out. And you know, I don't know. I mean, it's a little. I don't know if Nebraska felt like they needed to get somebody this summer, but it's a little bit fortuitous that they got Hull out of the summer because they would be in bad straits right now, I think, if they didn't have it.
Where have you settled in, Bruntz, on your win total for the year?
I'm leaning a little bit more to the positive as we get done talking about Nebraska's shaky kicking situation. That 8-4 is my number. I was stuck on 7.5. I could have gone 7-5. Could have gone 8-4. But we're going 8-4. So that's where it's headed. If they get past Colorado, I feel really good about 8-4.
100%. We were just talking about that exact thing. Like if you're able to somehow start 2-0, and for all, I think that topic is probably overblown. For the record, I'm with you on 8-4. That the topic of starting off a season well and how the previous eras have not been able to get off to these good starts. That's a little bit overblown, but at the same time, like I would really like to see it, starting off against UTEP and then maybe getting that kind of monumental win against Colorado just to see what happens from a psyche standpoint to the program.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think regardless of what Colorado is going to be this year, I think a win in that game is going to get a lot more attention than probably it deserves, if that makes sense. Like, I think there's going to be a lot of eyes on that game. I think inside the bubble here, I mean, there's going to be a lot of pressure around that game. But I think that game, more than others, feels like, you know how like early in the year, like if a team wins a game against a Power 4 opponent, that it seems to count a little bit more earlier in the season than maybe it actually should by the time the year's done. That game feels like one to me where a little bit like Oregon in 2016, where it's like that was a big win.
They weren't that good,
but they might have beaten like a 6-6 team. So, but I think it would definitely do wonders for juju around here.
Oh, it 100% mattered looking back at it and propelled them to that 7-0 start. They got a chance to do something similar this year. All right, Michael, we will let you go. Thanks for taking the time. As always, enjoy the football late night tonight and into the weekend.
Will do. We'll see you soon.
All right, Bruntz. That's Michael Bruntz of Husker 247. You know what's funny? I was waving at another Michael as I was saying, okay, Michael. That was probably very confusing from that Michael, who is now gone. With his child, by the way, and a former co-host of mine. Yep, he was here. He works around here, apparently. Yep. All right, I need to eat some chicken wings, but we do have to do another segment before we do that.
That is correct.
We'll pull questions. We'll tell you what to watch. Then we have a crossover. I've decided that I'm kind of Josh Petersoning my food right now because I want to plan it.
Are you going to give me the nod?
I want to have the food ready for me the second I get off the air.
Give me the nod.
All right. Well, I got to check out the menu during one of these breaks as well. All right. I'm going to get the wings, but I want to see the sauces. I want to see my options. I want to see my side options. I'm going to get tots, which have been
they don't have tots.
The good name of tots have been besmirched by Nick Grimm. They don't have tots.
This is an adult restaurant.
Well, adult restaurants have tots.
Do they?
So what is it? Fries? Oh, you guys got rings, obviously.
Yeah. We'd been talking about onion rings all week, so I wanted onion rings. Yeah.
All right. It's under consideration.
You got a lot
We'll be back with the polls. We'll tell you what to watch. Plenty to come. The Connor Happer Show on 1620 The Zone. Welcome back. These two guys.
Nothing but illustrious guests.
Nothing
on the
but
Connor Happer Show.
Nothing but illustrious guests. Indeed. Great to see you. Excellent to see you. Interesting shirt, but great to see you. Thanks, TC. Yep. Okay, yeah. He's saving the Nebraska stuff.
That's all
for
that
Saturday.
matters.
It's a good move.
Go Lakers.
Yeah. You got him. Indeed. We are still out here at the Red Out Lunch, brought to you by Union Bank and Trust. Connor Happer, Josh Hudson with you for a few more minutes. We'll get to the poll questions, of which we had one today.
We've been very busy.
We'll tell you what to watch. Nick came in and started
fiddling with it.
Touching things. I told John
call.
was right. John was 100% right.
Hang the banner.
Yes. Josh, we'll have a conversation at a later point in time. Yes. Indeed. But we love Oscars.
We sure do.
We love Oscars, folks. And here we are. We'll have a crossover here in just a couple minutes. There's predictions abound, things of that nature. Wanted to mention, so Nebraska plays 2:30 on Saturday, and there will be a big red overreaction afterwards.
There will.
On 1620 The Zone and on 1019 The Zone, the Keg.
People forget.
With me and Nick Hanley. We'll be rock and rolling. Probably about, 6 o'clock? Take you to about 8. Get home, eat enchiladas. Nebraska's 1-0. And
so you think game 1 will be a tidy 2-hour show?
Yes.
Okay.
That's my prediction.
Okay.
I think that I will be out of our studio, out of our abode by 8 o'clock.
Okay.
No?
Seems unlikely.
I feel like you're rooting against me, considering you won't even be around.
I feel like the takes will be flying.
The takes will indeed be flying, but they will be succinct and they will be efficient. The takes will be efficient in nature, and I will be able to get them all out by 8.
So no one will wish death upon you.
No, that did happen last year.
It did?
I don't know if that was the first game, but maybe that was 2 years ago.
I think it was 2.
2 years ago.
There was somebody on with you that's longer
true.
with us.
That's true. Nobody has wished death upon me on a Big Red Overreaction in at least a year. So, I don't know. It's always fun on Big Red Overreaction. All right, to the polls here. We had one poll. Do you like walnuts? Yes or no? Random Mike called in and said, you better eat walnuts instead of anything else.
Or you're going to die.
Eat walnuts and it'll save you from having a heart attack. I like walnuts.
So I like them on something like a salad or like a fish dish, but
yes,
I'm going to snack on an almond or a peanut before a walnut.
I am too, but do you like them is the question.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Yes.
That's the question.
65% say yes.
All right.
They like walnuts. I, of course, prefer other nuts.
Sure.
But walnuts are fine. 65% say yes. Those are the polls. Do we have anything from yesterday afternoon?
Oh, good question. Is El Paso a Sipple city?
Oh, yeah, that was, 90%. 90%. Also, we had you making the Nick Grimm fry goblin
That's right.
thing, which I'm still laughing at right now. Okay, Josh, what are we watching?
We are watching college football, ladies and gentlemen.
We got PJ Fleck. We got Coach Prime. We got the Rutgers.
That's right.
So many things.
Rutgers taking on Howard before USC even gets off the air today. 5 o'clock, BTN. 2 games going on at 7 o'clock. Fox has North Carolina, Minnesota. ESPN has North Dakota State, Colorado.
Did we ever figure out who that broadcast crew was for Fox, by the way?
No. You look that up.
For Minnesota and North Carolina.
Minnesota.
Let's see if Minnesota puts their game notes on the internet.
Connor claims to not care about tonight's 7 o'clock showdown on CBS Sports Network between Coastal Carolina and Jacksonville State.
I'm a college football elitist. I watch the games that matter to me.
Rich Rod.
I watch Power 5 games.
The Chanticleers.
I do not care.
Okay.
I do not care.
So you care more about Eastern Illinois at Illinois.
Yes.
8 o'clock
Yes.
on BTN.
Infinitely more, actually.
What will big Illini overreaction be? Those hosts hate their life because they're going on the air at about 11:30.
Yeah. And they have to watch Illinois football all the time.
7 o'clock on the CW tonight, Elkhorn and Gretna. It's transport yourself back to the 70s. This is like watching an NBA game on tape delay.
I have the answer for the broadcast crew for Minnesota, North Carolina. And coincidentally, it is the same crew that will be doing the Nebraska game on Saturday. It'll be Jason Benetti, Brock Hewitt, and Allison Williams.
Busy.
Yep. So they're just
who's doing the
taking that quick nonstop Delta flight down from Minneapolis and parking it in Lincoln.
Who's calling the Tigers game right now?
Who is doing the Tigers game right now? Because the Tigers are playing during the day.
They are, like God intended, on MLB Network right now against the Los Angeles Angels. Red Sox host the Blue Jays on ESPN Plus at 6 o'clock. Braves, Phillies in Philly, 5:30 start on MLB Network. A 4-game series starts this weekend. The Braves and their ragtag group of baseball players.
Including Marcell Ozuna.
No opinions on him. 5 games back of the dreaded Phillies. Dodgers host the Orioles, 9 o'clock on MLB Network. Connor, Peacock debuts a new show today. What if it was hard?
You didn't say anything about the Royals this weekend.
They're blacked out, and it's not the weekend. It's Thursday.
It's a national level game. Houston, Kansas City.
Yes.
Rematch of the 2015 American League Division Series, in which the Royals came back from down 2-1 on the road to win, and they're both currently in the playoffs. What's so bad about that?
Nothing. I just have no ability to watch it.
No.
Johnny Cueto's return to Kansas City.
What?
Johnny Cueto's return to Kansas City.
When?
Tonight.
No.
I saw a graphic.
That happened last week.
Oh. Was it an old graphic I was looking at?
On
the gram?
He was randomly signed by, I believe it was the Cincinnati Reds or somebody, and he did it. No, it was the Angels.
Angels?
He ended up pitching a game, randomly last week for the Angels at Kauffman Stadium. So that did happen.
I need Instagram to create like a news section where it kills posts after 48 hours or something.
Yeah.
That's on me. But Connor, what if Hard Knocks was at Notre Dame? What if Chasing 3 was the Irish? Here Come the Irish debuts on Peacock right now. We could watch it right now, guys.
It's called Here Come the Irish?
Yes.
It's
Come
about
the Irish.
This year's Notre Dame football team?
Yes, it is Hard Knocks. It is a training camp look at Notre Dame's season.
Okay.
And the Fighting Freemans.
I don't know. I'm not totally against that.
And then finally, on Amazon Prime, it is the season 2 premiere of a show that costs a literal $1 billion that no one has ever watched before. Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power. Sauron works to rebuild his strength.
Josh watches it.
And oversee the creation of the Rings of Power.
Josh quit on this
Whatever
show.
that means.
Josh is not a real Lord of the Ring head anymore. He quit on this show.
Not a Tolkien head?
Yeah. All the Star Wars people watch all the Star Wars shows?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Acolyte got canceled.
Josh thought that he was a Lord of the Rings guy, and yet he quit this show. Very interesting.
Wow.
He has given up.
I wish I could have quit the movies.
Speaking of Josh and John, they've both sat down. The crossover is coming up. Josh, thank you. Enjoy your nice weekend. That'll be very fun. It'll be not hot at all where you're going.
The visiting stands in Milledgeville, Georgia are beautiful this time of year.
You guys pack your canopy?
We sure have. Okay. 2 of them.
Good luck to the defending two-time defending national champion Iowa Western Reavers. Joey will be with me tomorrow on a Friday show, getting you ready, of course, for Nebraska and UTEP. That's it for us today. If you missed anything, including our Red Out Lunch Roundtable, brought to you by Union Bank and Trust, you can find it all at 1620thezone.com. The crossover is next.